Splashy puddles.
Yeah,
Have fun.
That's what it's all about, boy.
Peppa Pig loves puddles.
Yeah, I'm not a Peppa Pig person.
Are you not?
Sideway face does my head in.
Hudson might like Peppa Pig.
Oh, well, I've purposely shielded him from Peppa
Did you?
Pig.
Yeah. All right, okay.
Baby Bum or whatever it's called is the latest thing. All right, Gucci, you have a great weekend. We look forward to chatting you Monday already. Our Friday panel is going to be joining us very shortly. It's an interesting one, and we've got a lot of interesting topics to talk about. But let's get across what's happening in the world of news and say good morning now to Donald Kavanagh. Good morning, Donald.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. A Donegal TD says homeowners affected by defective blocks must be included on the implementation steering group, which is to be established to work through issues as they arrive in the new redress scheme. In a submission to an Oireachtas Housing Committee at which the defective blocks issue was discussed, Deputy Joe Micheal welcomed the establishment of the group but stressed the need for the voice of homeowners to be included. He said the committee, based on his ministerial experience, runs the risk of regarding the issue as having been addressed and then moving on to something else, and that, Deputy Micheal says, is something that can't be allowed to happen.
My fear and my brief knowledge of being in different departments is once a box is ticked, once a scheme is introduced, you're so busy in your world and you have so much going on and you have so many housing issues and all that. That bit's done. Let's move on. We can't allow that to happen with this scheme because this scheme is not the scheme. It's too complex, it's too big, it's too wide, it's too varied, it's too challenging. I'm asking for the voice of the homeowner to be represented at that implementation committee.
A nationwide Garda alert has reportedly been issued for a crime gang which ram-raided several shops across the country. The Irish Independent reports this morning the group has stolen thousands of euro worth of goods and carried out significant criminal damage in its crime spree. It's believed the group has carried out 8 organised robberies in Dublin, Westmeath, Wexford, Kildare, Meath, Galway and Roscommon. The paper reports at least 6 people are involved in the gang and a regional coordinated investigation is underway. Ireland's emissions fell by only just under 2% last year, according to the latest assessment by the Environmental Protection Agency. The decrease is less than half the reduction required under targets. The agency is warning meeting targets in the future will be extremely challenging. Ireland has signed up to national and international obligations to fight climate change, with key targets of cutting emissions by half by 2030. Dr. Cara Augustenberg is Professor of Environmental Policy at UCD. She says transport almost derailed the success in all other sectors last year.
It had a 6% increase on 2021. Now it's still a little bit down from pre-COVID levels, but obviously it's rising as we get back to business as usual. It's still on the rise. And it really shows that we have to get out of this mindset that it's all about electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are not going to be the solution to our transport issues.
And just to remind you that warning from Met Éireann today, motorists should be wary of difficult driving conditions and flooding this afternoon and evening. A status yellow weather warning is in place in the whole country until 7 this evening, except for Donegal. In Donegal, a standalone rain warning will be valid from midday until midnight. And the forecast bands of rain moving up from the south during the morning with heavy falls at times, a risk of localised flooding, the rain continuing into this evening with fresh and gusty easterly winds, highs of 13 to 16 degrees Celsius. Rain continuing tonight, easing off later. Overnight temperatures 11 to 13. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock.
It's the summer of savings at SuperValue. Enjoy great offers like Kellogg's Rice Krispies 660 gram, Special K 750 gram and Crunchy Nut 720 gram, only €3. Selected coffee pods like Lore 20 pack, Tassimo 16 pack, any 3 for €12. And money off vouchers every week on the app. For a summer of savings, it's got to be SuperValue.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning. It is 4 minutes past 9 on this Friday, the 14th of July 2023. You're very welcome along to another edition of The 9 till Noon Show. And it's a busy one as always on a Friday. Very shortly I'll introduce to you our Friday panel, but I want you involved in the conversation. We all do, in fact. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Email comments at highlandradio.com, and we want you involved as well. If you're listening outside the 26 counties, 00353, drop the O and away you go. Put the number in your phone. It's going to be a long one. still. But anyway, all right, let's say hello and good morning to our guests. And we welcome on to the programme now Father John Joe Duffy. Good morning to you, Father. Thank you so much for joining
Greg,
us.
Good morning to the listeners.
It's great to have you with us. Eddie Grant's the former president of the Students' Union at the ATU Letterkenny. Hi, Eddie.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on board. Dr. Joe Kelly, historian and teacher. Joe, how are you? My good morning to you is A, politeness, B, to make sure we're all connected and can hear each other, and it's another morning where we've got off to a successful start. There's actually really quite a lot to get through this morning. Yesterday we were talking about the new Leaving Cert sex education curriculum, which will normalise lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and other LGBTQ plus identities, relationships and families, rather than marginalising them in standalone lessons. The government's curriculum advisors say the approach to be taken with students will be inclusive, underpinned by the principles of equality, human rights and responsibilities. Now, in fairness, that element is just one part of the Leaving Cert curriculum, which deals with issues such as healthy and unhealthy relationships, matters of consent, whether it's given or perceived, and domestic, sexual and gender-based violence. So there's a lot in there, but the papers did pick out the some of the stuff as it relates to the normalising of LGBTQ plus identities, relationships and families. Mixed bag coming back from our audience during the week. But a brief one on this one from you, Dr. Joe Kelly. What's your take on it? Is this worthwhile? Is it useful? It is still out for consultation, so parents and guardians are at this point can have their say still.
Well, firstly, what's it saying about our sex ed for the last 20 years? That's the first thing. So we've been totally acting as ignoramuses for the last 20 years, and all of a sudden, with the new wokeism of transgenderism and everything else, we'll stick that in now and tell us that we were behind the curve for the last 20 years. It's no longer good enough and for parents now to think that when they drop off their kids at school and pick them up, that's the only engagement they have to have with their children's education. Parents need to become aware of what's being taught. And the issue I have is the content of what's being taught, and more importantly, who's doing the teaching. What agenda are they pushing? I have no problems talking about transgenderism, LGBT, whatever it is you need to talk about. But is there an agenda being pushed with that? And I'll give you an example. If you look at, and any time, Greg, you ever hear, or your listeners ever hear a politician ever again say, it's going by international best practices, a red flag. Who decides what's international best practices? So when it comes to sex ed, international best practices, they refer often to the World Health Organization Sex Ed program, which in a small booklet mentions abortion 68 times. Now, that's not an agenda. I have no problems with children being told about abortion and what happens, but it's just the level and the agenda, that the top-heavy infiltration of content and ideologies into that. And this is where the problem is. And I'll just
ask you a question? But you talk about ideologies there, right? We had a referendum on abortion here. The public decided. Now, obviously, subsequent to that, that might be changed and further widened, and that's another debate for another day. There are also people who identify as trans and different identities, non-binary and what have you, including discussing them, having a conversation with people in their late teens. How is that wokeness, or how is that an ideology, or how is that an agenda? These people exist. They're not trying to convince young people that they should become. They're simply saying that out in the world, these people exist. And here's an understanding of I presume you don't deny they exist.
No, absolutely not. I mean, the fundamental for me as a Christian is, every human being is made in the image of likeness of God. No matter what, we treat everybody with respect, full stop. And that's across everything. So, I mean, that's a given. But my point is this, Greg, and maybe this is an unusual station to be having this conversation, but you had a woman, a very brave, simple woman on your radio show a few days ago talking about sex ed and the concern she had. And she was just a mother expressing her belief, her ideology as a parent. And I'm sure she was speaking for a lot of parents. She wasn't shut up. And she wasn't shut down. You gave her an opportunity to say what she needed to say, and she reflected of what many parents would be thinking. But that woman wouldn't be given that platform on national broadcasting. She wouldn't be allowed to air her views, her Christian views.
Well, that's wrong.
My issue.
Well, that's wrong. I mean,
but Greg, this is the issue. It's the agenda that's behind it. As I said, I have no problems with content and with delivery, providing it is balanced. And I just question the balance of that. That's maybe the point I come
Right, the
from.
balance is, and I'll put the same point to her as I did to you. The balance is, Joe, that you can walk around Ireland, you can walk around holding hands with your partner, you can walk into any business, any shop. You will never face any grief. No one will ever question you about your colour. No one will ever question you about your gender. You know, you will just be able to operate. All the laws of the land are laid out, as complicated as it can be, to be perfectly simple for you. You aren't oppressed. You aren't marginalised. You have, as a white straight male, a pretty decent run of things. This is about recognising that there are other people that don't have those experiences in this country.
I disagree with you. I don't think I'm treated equally. As a parent, the challenges I face as a parent in Irish society, I would argue in many cases anti-family. I have children, I have to pay electricity, I have to pay for X, Y, and Z. I don't see the society being positive towards family and towards children. If we're going to have this conversation, let's have a fair and balanced conversation about everything. And as regards males and sexuality, who are the most people in jail? Men. Who are the most people that commit suicide? Men. Who are the most people homeless? Men. You know, let's have the conversation. And I have no problems. I don't want anybody discriminated against. And I would stand up for those people, be it in any sense. Any human being deserves dignity, full stop. And nobody has a right to infringe upon that dignity. But that dignity is not just for a few. It is for everybody.
All right.
The problem, Greg, is it's only been talked about the few. It must be talked about everyone. Everybody must be part of this conversation. Everybody must be treated equally.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, most crimes committed by men.
Absolutely. You know. That is true. And again, maybe if you look at educational attainment, most men are on the lower rungs of education. Most men are in the lowest rungs of society. I mean, look at the balance.
Do you really believe that, Joe? Every controversy almost in this country for the last God knows how long, it's women that are impacted by it.
Oh, absolutely. Women suffer from domestic violence. Women suffer from, when there's a separation financially, they go into poverty right away. There's no doubt about all those things. But the point...
Then as soon as women try and get some control, like say, for instance, in the interests of... Now, I hope listeners understand when I use language, I'm using it as counterpoints like abortion being healthcare, for an example, right? As soon as there's any inroads made in that, all of a sudden it's like, oh, you know, you can't do that. You know, it's and you can't do it for this reason or for that reason. But anyway, I'll come back to you. That's not a point of view I'm putting here, having a conversation. Edward Grant, have you a counter view or similar view to Dr. Kelly? He thinks... I mean, he's sitting there in his bedroom, he's sitting there in his front room, scared stiff, as a white straight male. I feel sorry for him. Are you all right, Joe? Do we need to send someone round? You're so oppressed. Come here. Go on, Edward.
I have to say, myself and like the rest of the union team take this as a very positive step forward. When we come into the third level environment, which is what we're trying to prepare students for in second level, these students entering their leaving cert, they're doing so to be prepared for entering into the big bad world. A good cohort of them will move forward to third level. We have mandatory consent training, we have mandatory training to try and bring people up to speed. And I think you can see last year, some of the events that happened during my time as presidency, there was gender-based violence happening. There was students being attacked because of their perceived gender, because of the company they choose to keep. And I think it's important that we arm our young people with the proper knowledge to be able to tackle that there whenever they get into the big bad world, whenever they start that process of entering.
Is it proportionate, though? You talk of cases of people and their experiences. Is it proportionate response to have these types of conversations and this type of information given to an entire population of 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds?
Yeah, as far as I know, the proposed changes are coming into the final 2 years, so it's going to be targeting mainly the 16 and 18-year-olds. And from my understanding, there still is an option for parents to pull out, same with any class, but then to pull their child out if they don't feel that there is going to be more appropriate for them. So there still is that option there. I think for me, coming especially so close from my own experience through second level education, my only fear would be because it is a non-exam class, it might be taken too lightly. And these are very serious subject matters that we're talking about. I think there needs to be some kind of learner-based assessment there, just to ensure that the information being given is being taken correctly and to make sure that the teaching and learning side of that there is up to standard. Because I would hate to see it just divulge into more colloquial or more of a DOS class. I think is a kind of
Yeah, because there are serious issues in terms of which also is a significant part of this change to the curriculum. Healthy and unhealthy relationships. What's the difference? Consent, domestic, sexual and gender-based violence. We heard from the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre that violence now is becoming increasingly more a factor in sex crimes, and the head of that is convinced that this is because people are getting their education from pornography. So there has to be some level of education around this here somewhere, because the problems start to particularly manifest themselves, but not exclusively, in third level.
It's something we try and target in third level, definitely. We've been running through, this NUIG came out with a training first as active consent, and now we're starting to roll out active bystander training. The issue with it is because third level's core education structure is a little bit more self-centered on learning, and it's not as structured as you would have in second level, it's very hard to target the exact audience that needs to be targeted for these kind of mandatory classes, because they're not pushed and they're not put into the mainstream. So I would take this as a very positive change.
Father John Joe Duffy, good morning to you again. And what's your view on this?
Good morning, Greg. I have to say that facts are very important, and the fact-based education is very important as long as it is not ideologically driven or agenda-driven by some, that it's very much a fact-based education. I had a very excellent fact-based sex education in the Ross's Community School in Dunlow when I went to school, and we also learned the facts around abortion at a time when abortion was very far from being introduced in this country. Respect is important. What I see is that there is a huge need to put necessary resources in place to help young people who are struggling, and that is the big elephant in the room, that there is not enough resource and not enough help put in place for young people who are struggling, particularly young people who are struggling with gender identity at this time, and with the sexual identity and so on, that help and resource needs to be put in place. And we must realize too that the frontal lobe to the brain, I'm not too much up on the brain, but I believe having gone through trauma training recently, that is not developed until we are 26 years of age, and young people's minds will change much up until they are 26 years of age, and we do not have the full capacity for making very serious decisions about our lives until we are 26 is what I was told recently in training, but that's open for discussion. But the respect is necessary right across the board, and anything that will take away violence against anyone, anything like that, is to be very much welcomed as well, because everyone should be treated with care and reach out to help. And again, it is a choice for parents. Parents are the primary educators until someone is 18 years of age, and I think that there should be opt-outs for parents who do not wish to have their children involved in the present education, but that there should be a system of sex education put in place for all children, be that the parents doing it, be that it done in the schools, or whatever the case may be.
Did you want to come back on that, Edward, Eddie, sorry, just before I ask a further question of Father John Joe?
Yeah, it's something that I heard both of my co-partners here on the radio that I mentioned, is the idea that there's not to be an agenda behind it. And I think I'd like more information about what agenda they don't want, because every action has an agenda, and as far as I'm concerned, the agenda behind this is to protect our young people.
Yeah, but can I suggest, and I'll respond to that, but in a further question to Father John Joe, the thing that's slightly different about this than most other things that I can kind of think of off the top of my head is that we have an approach that's been decided for educating young people, but yet in society we really haven't settled it all, if you know what I mean. So there are very, very different views out in the world. Now, I'm not talking about the very extreme views. I'm on about people that just haven't got their head around what is possible, what isn't possible, what they might do if a situation arose in their family. Yet we seem to have a very decided and specific approach within the schools. And Father John, I think that's wherein an awful lot of the problems arise, because parents and guardians haven't got their head around certain issues like multiple genders and someone being born one gender and then living their lives as another, yet is being taught as a matter of sort of fact in the schools. And I think this is where we have a difficulty, and I can't really think of another example of this. It's like if you believed the world was flat and you believed it with all your soul, but your children were being taught it was round. It's kind of, that's the closest I can come to some sort of an example, which I think is throwing up all of this debate and confusion to some extent.
Yeah, Greg, you hit the nail very, very much on the head there, and I agree with you. And we're at very early stages in all of this area, and I think we need to take things very slowly and very carefully. And it's very important. And again, going back, I think that respect is so vitally important, and to nurture young people and to help them through these difficult situations that they are being faced with. And you look now at programs on different types of programs, and programs are changing where you have ideologies very much part of programs, as it has always been, as Edward mentioned, and it's a very confusing world, I believe, for adults and for young people at the moment. And change does lead change, full stop, is very confusing for people, and this area is particularly confusing for a lot of people. And
right.
I'm not as qualified to speak on it as I'm not sure about Edward. I don't know Edward as well, but I know Joe Kelly is a parent and is a teacher, and you're a parent, Greg, and I think you have a lot more experience in this matter. I don't know. But I think you probably have had better conversations that perhaps would be more enlightening than might have if someone is seeking counsel or something. But anyway. Well, if someone comes to me seeking counselling around this area, I'm always aware that I have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and
you know the ratio.
To listen and to put people in the right to help signpost people.
Right.
And that's, I believe, very much part of what I do.
Okay, I'm going to go back to Joe Kelly, but I'm conscious that Edward I took him in, but we didn't get quite as much time. Edward, and I mean this with respect, and I can kind of say this because, I'm probably in the target group I'm about to reference here. Is there a generational issue here? Do you think if we had like a load of 15, 16 and 17-year-olds listening now and pooled them, they'd say, these guys don't know what they're on about here. Is, my friend is this and I'm that, and we don't judge each other. We all hang around together. This is the way life is. And let's face it, it's their world. We won't be here for very much longer in the wider scale of things. Do we fully understand? I mean, it's like the three of us sitting here, 4 of us sitting here talking about TikTok if we've never opened the app.
Yeah, I do think there definitely is a generational divide, and I think that's true with any situation, really. In my experience, young people tend to be as confused as adults when it comes to these sort of situations, although they tend to be a little bit more open and understanding of the fact that maybe they don't have the full picture, they're not completely understanding of the world. I think it's important to remember there, because I know the comments made there about the science being unsure in that there, but the first gender realignment surgery was done in 1931. It was done just after World War II, and it was a person born in the 1800s. So the concepts have been there for an awful long time, and it's just now we're trying to push them more into the mainstream. And I think it's important that the children receive this education so that they can make their own minds up about the subjects when it's their turn to take over.
Yeah, but at the same time too, there is that feeling, Edward, that they're not making their minds up. They are going through that period of their life where you're seeking something, you're seeking an identity, you're seeking your place in the world, you know, that and then, you know, you're placed with this menu of options, and you could go, right, well, you know, that's maybe that's who I am. Like the current, like we need more time, we need more analysis to 10, 15 years down the road to see people who are 15 and 16 now, how are they? Have we done the right thing? Are we making sure that we are guiding them correctly?
The best decision to be made there, as you said, these are people that are seeking out ideologies, the people that are trying to decide what their place is in the world and who they're going to be when they get there. And I think for them to make that decision, it's most important for them to be informed of the options they have and where they will lead. For us to sit there and decide, well, I don't think it's appropriate for us to give this knowledge to a child who will eventually receive it, whether or not we as adults or you as parents decide that it is appropriate for them. It's going to be a decision they make, and it's knowledge that they're going to gain regardless. And I think it'd be better for it to be given in a setting where it's controlled, in a setting where the information is coming directly from experts who have more knowledge in this area than any of us sitting here.
All right, Edward, if you could move closer to your router, it would be absolutely superb, because you've got important views and I want to hear what they have to say. If that's doable, if not, we can work our way through it. But Dr. Kelly, finally, before we take a break and move on, like you know, it's been referenced about parents and our responsibilities, and I actually think it's all of society. I think Father John Joe's role in all of this is as important as ours, because, you know, but we it's our responsibility to make sure we're doing the right thing right now. That's my point, and we're not settled on if this is the right thing. And I think this is why conversations like this are useful, but we are presuming that this is the right thing to do. But it may well be, but how can parents be assured that it's not, that we're not creating the issues as we try and make sure that we're looking after everybody at the same time, if that makes sense, as convoluted as that ramble was?
No, I get the point. Look, I have children. I'm a parent, and I want to make their bodies physically as best I can. So I feed them properly. I exercise them properly. I invest in them to make them physically the best human beings. That's a duty I have as a parent. Likewise, I need to put into their mind what's healthy. And I am concerned that if I put into my child, into their mind, in the same way I would put bad food into their body, what effect does that have on them? And this goes back to the science. The science in a lot of this new generational ethos is very unproven. And if you look at, for example, the whole basis of transgenderism goes back to John Money in 1955, who I argue is a very sinister and amoral man. 2 children committed suicide because of this experimentation. And this is considered international best practice. And I advise parents, go on and Google John Money and you'll understand what's behind this agenda. I mean, and so I have to be careful that I protect my child's inner being, what goes into their head. I have a duty as a parent in the same way I care for their food. And it's not about...
Yeah, but this agenda thing that you keep mentioning, though, like language is so important. What do you mean by agenda? Do you think there's a group of people actively trying to turn people who are born as male into women, or vice versa? I mean, what might the agenda be there? Do you know what I mean? These are people who, from a very early age, they don't connect with their physical body. Now, some might go down the route of very few, but some might go down the route of gender realignment. Some might take some hormones, but many don't. Many just identify and walk around, not with their birth assigned. They're not being driven to do. That's their feeling. That's the want. So as soon as then you start talking about agendas, Joe, honestly, I kind of get lost a little bit, because I'm like, well, who are you talking about? What are we talking about here?
Well, the point I'm trying to make maybe is this, that I think we all agree, Eddie and Father John, Joe, myself, look, respect is terribly important for every human being, full stop. But the problem is, it's not about respect it's been loaded in certain elements, that there are certain views that are getting priority over other views, and there's no balance. An example, I go back to that woman was on your radio station.
Jane,
back
yeah.
That would not happen on national media. She'd be made shut up, and she would have been made closed down. But in fact, you give her an opportunity. That's what I'm on about, agenda, where there is a balance, where people get a chance. They're allowed to air their concerns. And
I get you. I do understand now. I do understand exactly what you mean. But Edward, do you believe, or Eddie, do you believe there's an agenda to shut down debates? That, in other words, if you push back a little bit, you're described as this, that, or the other. I mean, we do have to have open debates, and I don't think in anything in this world we know all the answers, and we'll only get to what is genuinely right for young people is through respectful conversation.
I think that the idea that there is an open debate comes from two sectors, and that's in my personal experience. One is either when somebody expects a person who identifies as transgender or identifies as gay to have explanations as to why, and it's not up to that person to have to debate their own existence. The other side of it is, it's important to remember that whenever we come into conversations like this, there is a standard that's already set. And to be fair to everyone on the panelists today, it's been adhered to. It's the idea of common respect, mutual human understanding. And I think sometimes the debate can teeter on the age of, does this person actually exist? Where we can see they do.
Yeah, of course. And I don't believe there was any utterance in that regard here. But we also have to make sure that person, are we in supporting them without questioning or any alternative, are we actually making sure that we're doing the right thing? Do you get what I'm saying? But
I understand what you mean, and I think I'm just going to go back to something that Joe said there a second ago, the idea that he's putting things into his children's mouth to try and make them healthy. He's giving them food, he's giving them water. Where you got the idea of what's healthy and what's bad came from the experts, came from the scientific community, came from years of research and study. And it's the same scientific community that taught you which food is good and which food is bad.
I'm not sure, though, the community's settled on this issue, though. But Eddie, I do take your point there. Okay, we'll be back with more from our guests shortly. Stay right where you are.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
New this week at Home Store and More. All school bags are all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price school bags are gone, they're gone. Also, all indoor clothes areas and all outdoor cushions are still all half price. But when all the half price indoor clothes areas and all the half price outdoor cushions are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. New store now open in Frascati Centre, Blackrock, Dublin. Home Store and More. A happy home.
We're sorry to inform you of yet another delay. No, not the train this time, it's John. He's delayed getting his eyes tested. If he's accidentally sat in your lap, knocked over your suitcase or kissed you instead of his wife, we can only apologise. John has now been informed that eye tests and glasses from the €69 range at Specsavers are free with PRSI or medical card. So there's no need to delay booking an appointment. Find out more at specsavers.ie. John, can you get off my lap?
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Usually, a radio ad is recorded in a recording studio. Today, I'm phoning this one in on my run. But I didn't want to carry my phone. So for the first time, I'm calling for my smartwatch. Because only Vodafone's one number lets me share my mobile plan and number with my smartwatch. So I can stay connected everywhere, even without a phone.
This is one number, only with Vodafone.
Available to customers on a 12 or 24-month Red Unlimited plan. Eligibility, limitations and terms apply. See vodafone.ie/terms.
For all your training needs, Northwest Forestry Services Training Department Ballybuffet offer a wide range of courses from training bodies, such as NPTC City and Guilds, QQI, LADRA and ABA International. Courses include all land-based services, such as chainsaw, tree climbing and rescue, pesticides, working in heights and ATV training. Other courses offered include first aid responder, manual handling and building safety, to name but a few. For a full list of training courses and availability, contact Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet on 074 9132033.
If you've been affected by suicide or know someone who has, HUG is the National Suicide Bereavement Charity. Join us on Saturday, July 15th for a free information event in the Radisson Blue Hotel, Letterkenny. Expect coffee, cakes and compassionate conversations on understanding suicide grief and what local supports are available to adults. Doors open at 1 with the speaker at 1:30. Visit hugg.ie for more details. HUG, hope and healing after suicide.
Caller says Joe makes a good point on cherry-picking the oppressed. For instance, when Joe brought up abortion, Greg said the majority decided in the referendum, but the unborn child didn't get a vote. Joe's speaking for them. Listen, I mean, this comes up now and again, but we had a referendum in a democracy and the majority voted in a certain way. Simply referencing that is not taking one side of the argument or not. And clearly, obviously, unborn children are never going to have an opportunity to vote in such, and I presume those who were pro-life were advocating on their behalf. Good morning, Greg. Most people in Ireland in prison are men. You said that's because men do most crimes, yet most crimes in America are committed by people of colour, yet you call that racism. Can you see how wrong you are? The doctor is right. Agendas are being pushed. Men can't be women and vice versa, nor can children be animals, which they're identifying as now, and teachers are reinforcing this delusion. They're doing nothing but harm. There's an open conversation actually from within the black community in the United States as to why black men disproportionately represent the population there. It's an open conversation that's had in that country. Right, okay, thank you very much for your comments. Let me see here. Greg, I think the problem is that if you oppose someone's views or beliefs, then you automatically dismiss them. You don't look at the data or information they put forward, which may be 100% accurate, starting jokingly that someone's terrified sitting in a room, being a single male. If that were reversed, there'd be uproar. But again, there is a certain level of protection and entitlement I have, you know, that would permit me, I think, and also knowing Joe to say something like that. Right, we've a few to get through, so we'll keep it. Joe, am I right or wrong? I don't know. Anyway, we'll
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to have the beauty again is you have to have a conversation, and you know something, you have the right to express your mind, and at times that will offend people, but that's okay, because by thinking you're getting your thoughts out, and people then can come back. You know, I think the freedom to speak and even offend someone with what you say gives them the opportunity to come back and say, no, back into your box or whatever else. So if we don't express our thoughts and what's inside our human nature, we never actually get to anywhere that's where we talk about respect and understanding, and that can only be achieved by communicating. And so, Greg,
and sometimes there's a little bit of an irony, and I love everyone texting in, but a lot of the texts I read on this show, we don't screen them. People are texting in saying this, that, and on. Those texts would never be read on other places, because it would be something I disagree with if I were a different presenter, and then I would not read it out. And then, so anyway, Green representatives called for the 12th to be made a public holiday in the Republic. The 12th of July, also known as the 12th, which I referenced, marks the victory of Protestant King William of Orange over Catholic King James II in the Battle of the Boyne in 1690, an act that secured a Protestant line of succession for the British Crown in Ireland. Green Party TD Patrick Costello stated that if the Irish state truly aspires to unite all the peoples of this island, then all of those people need to feel represented and included. Now, we spoke to the head of the Orange Order in Donegal, and he was kind of cool on this for the simple reason is the impact it might have on business rather than, you know, the benefit it might have in terms of representing people and improving relationships. Father John, Joe, any appetite for another public holiday? We all have, I suppose. But do you think this would be a worthwhile exercise, a step in the right direction, or maybe Deputy Costello hasn't read the room?
Honestly, I haven't given it any thought, to be honest. So I think there are more important issues at hand, and the more important issues at hand are to. I think there is a need for upholding the peace process that was started and nurturing the peace process. And I think that has fallen by the wayside over the last number of years. And for me, the most important thing is dialogue and dialogue between all sides. And we saw the rise of violence recently, not too very far from us, when a policeman was shot, and that is totally unacceptable, totally wrong. And we've seen violence at other points. And
I think Father John
what we have to work towards is to nurture that peace process and to make sure that violence doesn't come back. And I believe that the situation in Northern Ireland is in a very difficult situation at this stage. And I wrote a letter to somebody recently, and I noted that we need to be very careful, because I think at the moment the unionists felt abandoned. Those from the unionist tradition, those from the nationalist tradition felt very much abandoned from Dublin over the last number of years. And I felt it was like an oil lamp in a shed full of hay, and if somebody tosses it over, it will be very serious. So what I think we need more importantly is not the calls for something that might be populist or otherwise, but for the politicians on all sides to be involved in real dialogue and get the assembly up and running and get things back on track in Northern Ireland. And I think politicians could spend their time far better working on that.
Yeah, there's probably even a bit of naivety in this call, in that you mentioned that reference that case in Omagh, and yet we're still seeing this crack of burning flags and effigies of people. We want to make sure our politicians aren't asleep at the wheel here and sort of just looking at the top of it and what you can do, as you say, to potentially, it seems like we really need our politicians to say what's going on in the ground, what are relationships like in various communities, how can we ensure that this is not just intergenerational, that we can start looking towards a shared future in real terms, on a housing estate, up a road, in a city.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the big fear is that communities in various areas have been very much left behind and haven't benefited from the peace, what should have been the benefit of the peace dividend. And now we see the troubles around Brexit, and there is far more complication in the situation now than there was a pre-Brexit, and we need to get real. And I was delighted to see both the Taoiseach and the Taoiseach making very serious efforts to get very real with the peace process in recent times, and I wish them well, and please God that they will keep it very much to the top of their agenda, and please God that they will get the Assembly up and running in Northern Ireland, because it's vitally important.
It's critical, isn't
people
it?
are looked at. Yeah, it's critical, because when you have people who are being marginalised, being ignored because of the lack of the institutions, it's very serious. And as you say, it's okay calling for this or calling for that, but let's get real and let's deal with the real issues, the poverty issues that many people in Northern Ireland are facing, and the troubles even within the health service and so on.
Yeah, and Eddie, to you before I bring in Dr. Joe, and I'm not talking about you here, I'm talking about people maybe even younger than you. This is a flip of our last conversation, because it's the older generation here that really have the knowledge to know that we really don't want to be going back to where we were once before, because we all lived through it. Remember the stories, and it wasn't just in far-flung places. It was within our own communities and what have you. But yes, listen, I don't want to pile on Deputy Costello. It's probably well intended, but we really need to be talking about getting political representation properly up and running in the north, and ensuring we don't find ourselves going back to the dark days.
I think thankfully I'm of a generation that really hasn't had much need for education in this aspect. Learned about it superficially, but I haven't really experienced any of the hardships that I think I hear a lot of older generations speak of. As far as what Deputy Costello said, 100% on board with an extra day off work. I mean, I don't think there's a single person that's going to be anti, but you just need to make sure that it isn't just a tokenistic gesture and that there is the supports being put in place to ensure that we have proper multicultural society going forward and that there isn't any discrimination or non-inclusion.
Some will find it insulting, Dr. Kelly, this proposal, that maybe even suggests that there's not a full understanding of the history and how such a proposal, whilst it might seem all-inclusive, it might just be a step too far for some.
Look, I'll not give you the history lesson today of it. In fact, the bishop or the Pope in Rome, Innocent XI, said Mass in celebration for the victory of William of Orange. So just to put it in a historical context. But I think what Father John hit on there about the economics, look, the reality is since the Good Friday Agreement, the Belfast Agreement, the Irish economy has expanded by 78%, while in Northern Ireland the economy has only expanded by 38%. So economically, United Ireland is going to happen. The economics will make it happen. If you look at the census, the under 25 age group in the 6 counties is far more in the nationalist favour massively than in the unionist favour. So look, these are realities and we have time. And what we need to do is make space. And if the Orange 12th Day is about triumphalism and superiority and Protestant ascendancy and all that, we're not having that. But it's up to the Protestant Orange Unionist community to give them. We have to give them the space to tell us what do they want, what do they want to celebrate. And I think we need to give them space. And if they need to march and have their celebration and us partake in celebrating whatever beliefs they have that are respectful at all times. And I think genuinely, you had the Orange Order, the head man on, I think he's very genuine. He's wanting to celebrate his tradition. He wants to celebrate something that's very personal to them. It's a matter of faith. It's a matter of community. It's a matter of music, celebration. And if they need a space for that, then by all means. And we're duty bound to create that space. And it's only that kind of attitude that's going to allow for an Ireland, a proper Ireland, to emerge. And again, I've said this to you before, Greg, when we are here in Donegal, we have the largest Protestant population on the island of Ireland. And once there used to be a TD who was of the Unionist, Willie Sheldon, and he was later appointed by Sean Lamass as a senator. And, you know, we have Eileen Flynn from our own county as a senator for the travelling community. I think we've been missing opportunities for decades, not having someone from the Unionist community appointed to help create that space and articulate their concerns. This is about inclusion.
Is that though it might be seen as someone really to have their input as to what that community might want in a united Ireland? Do you know what I mean? But that would have to come from a point of accepting that's where we're moving. Father John, do you want to come in on that?
No, I agree with Joe. The Senate would be a great opportunity to appoint people from the Unionist tradition too, to get a better understanding of what their desires are. And the late Albert Reynolds appointed Gordon Wilson as a senator who came from the Unionist tradition and who is a man of reconciliation. And he was a great asset to have in the Senate. And Joe, I agree fully with Joe on that, and to give the Unionist tradition the space to celebrate.
Do you want to wrap up on this in a minute, Dr. Kelly? And then I'll go to a quick break and we'll come back with our last topic.
Again, it's wonderful that we can have this conversation openly on a station like ours, in the sense that it's Donegal straddles 6 miles of us touch the Free State, the rest of it touches the border, the 6 counties, and this is the kind of conversations we need, because it's health giving, it's important, and if we are going to move towards United Ireland, we need to work with everybody and bring everybody along, and it's up to everybody to claim that space, and we need to give people space. So with regards to the 12th, we need to give them space. And I hope that they claim that space and they grow into that space, whatever that may be.
Okay, back with more from our guests after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Why leave all the magic moments or great scenes you've captured on your phone sitting there or in the cloud when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using the McGee's app or one of the in-store kiosks, you can upload your photos from your phone, Google Photos, Facebook or Instagram and have them printed instantly within an hour or in by 10 and ready by 5. See mcgees.ie for more details. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's chemist, Letterkenny.
Come along to the Glencolmkill Agricultural Show on Sunday the 6th of August, featuring cattle, sheep, horses, poultry and all marquee classes. A great family day with children's fun and live music. Entries open on glencolmkillagriculturalshow.ie or visit our Facebook page.
Gavin here from iMotors. Join me on the Nissan Roadshow in Super Value Dunload at 20th of July, 11am to 8pm. Killybeg Super Value 21st of July, 11am to 8pm. And Kiernan's Ballyshannon 22nd of July, 10am to 5pm. As we will be showcasing our 232 Nissan lineup. Test drive on the day and be in with a chance of winning a €500 Super Value voucher. iMotors, your Nissan dealer for the Northwest.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
Ireland's greenhouse gas emissions decreased in 2022 compared with the previous year, according to a new report from the EPA. Total emissions were 1.9% lower due to decreases in the residential, agriculture and energy sectors. However, emissions from the transport sector, well, they increased 6%, which is really quite bizarre. And of course, some might say, well, yes, but that was compared to COVID times. Well, it's a very marginal decrease pre-COVID. Well, the government has now used up half of its 5-year carbon budget in 2 years. So my rough calculations would suggest that we need to see reductions now of 12% annually over the next 3 years to meet targets. Here's another one that I would love to see a proper open conversation on. And indeed, we might facilitate this, where we can talk about some ironies here. There's some reductions in agriculture, but our electricity is through the roof. But no one's going to go after the data centres to try and reduce our electricity, where you're going to go after cows that are doing bang bangs, as we say in our house. Edward, obviously, I think we all recognise that we have to bring down our emissions, but in terms of transport, there's never been more electric cars. We're plugging them into the electricity, and yet some of the biggest increases in terms of electricity generation. It's a tough old square to circle, this one, Eddie.
When it comes to transport, I think in Donegal we're in quite a unique situation. As you know, over the last number of years, we've been trying to campaign along with the local regional groups about trying to get train transport into Donegal. I think some of the decisions that have been made over the last number of years as regard to transport in Ireland just really further push people into having to own a car, having to travel, make those journeys. I think the most sustainable transport option we have available to us is train, and train infrastructure is something I don't think has really seen much improvement around Ireland in the last number of years. I still think it's absolutely ludicrous that to travel from Sligo to Galway by train, you have to go through Dublin.
She didn't realise that yet yourself. Or if you want to travel to Donegal to Dublin by train, you have to go through Belfast. That's if you can get as far as Derry. But I mean, as I say, I think we just really need to figure out, all of us, and have an open nationwide conversation about how we can achieve what we feel or some feel needs to be achieved. Eddie, we all try and do our bit. You've pointed out the fact that it can be difficult because where are the options? But what I don't understand is 39% of our electricity is wind generated. Yet we do have these data centres consuming, 15, 16, 17% of our electricity. And then, of course, the cars on that network as well, putting on pressures. I think our solutions, we're creating more problems than solutions, not as individuals, but in terms of policy.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest changes that are coming down the line, I know when I was involved with working, I worked a little bit with a civils company through the ASB. There was a lot of big battery centres being built. And I think that ability to feed power back to the grid is something that definitely needs to be improved on. Now, again, not 100% well read in this topic, and it isn't something that I'd be consider myself well experienced in. But as far as data centres and stuff goes, we move towards a more data-minded time. I think it is something that's needed, so it's not something we can shy away with. And I think not building them in Ireland and having them pushed to some other places that maybe don't have infrastructure is just kind of pushing the problem out of sight, out of mind.
But I think in a way you've probably hit the nail on the head where policy is trying to bring us away from the sea, away from the land, and to, digital. And that's our place maybe in the EU. Father John Joe, as I say, there's a lot of information in this report, but the nuts and bolts of it is we're making tiny progress, 1.9% lower emissions year on year.
Yeah, I was listening to Minister Ryan yesterday evening on the radio as I was driving the car. My big fear about all of this is that we're going to reduce cattle. We're going to put windmills at sea in very valuable fishing grounds. I am all for windmills at sea. I'm all for windmills in the right places, but not where it takes away from others. And we're going to be importing fish, as we have started, fish that's caught off our shores by others. We're going to be importing cattle, or beef rather, from other countries. We're reducing our own herd, and we'll end up importing beef
and milk.
We'll end up importing fish. We'll end up importing milk. There needs to be sensible solutions, and some of this is none. Some of it lacks common sense, I believe. And I'm all for renewable energy, but renewable energy in the right places, windmills built in the right places, windmills at sea built in the right places, and not to take away from fishing. And we have the best beef, I argue. And yes, there needs to be room for improvement, of course there is, and I'm all for protecting creation, protecting the environment long before it became a trendy thing, and that's important, but not in a sense where it doesn't make sense to reduce our own herd and then import from Brazil. Where is that saving the planet?
Joe Kelly?
Again, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's taken, and you cannot, you're not allowed to speak against the green agenda. You're not allowed to challenge it. There are a lot of scientists, thousands of scientists, that do not agree with this green agenda. And what they won't tell us is, for example, they're talking about if carbon hits 0.4% per particles per million in your air, we're going to have terrible global warming. But what they won't tell you, if it falls below 0.02, which is half of that, then everything in the world dies. That there's a very fine balance.
We have just had the hottest 7 days in the world's history, one after the other, though.
I accept that. And maybe go back to Galileo. The world orbits the sun. And that is not perfect every year or every century. It does wobble a little bit. This is the science that scientists will put towards that. Having said that, there is no doubt that human activity has affected the environment. There's no doubt about that, and I'm all for environmental.
I think it's sell us a solution here. Tell us exactly what your plans is.
Here's the elephant in the room. Or, we're busy catching mice and letting the elephant through. If you turned every car in the morning electric, it will only reduce fossil fuel consumption by 10%. And all the emphasis seems to be going on the 10% rather than people standing back saying, what's going on with the 90%?
Okay.
But no, they'll fly into their COP conferences with their big 5-course meals on their big private jets, set agendas for us little mice at the bottom to live by, and they'll fly out with their big carbon footprint aeroplane to wherever they go. This is what's going on. Bill Gates and others setting agendas. What we need in Ireland is extensive farming, not intensive farming, extensive farming. I live in a rural community. We have whins, we have rhododendrons. We need animals, both cattle and sheep, grazing our lands. It is the best environmental balance and biodiversity you can. And instead, what are they trying to do? Take the animals off. They don't. The government doesn't believe in the land, doesn't believe in the farmer. And for me, this is a retro step for us as a country.
Dr. Joe Kelly, historian and teacher, thanks so much for your time. Lovely to have you on the show as always. Father John Joe, great to see you, great to hear you, great to have you on the programme. Thank you so much. Have a lovely weekend, will you? And last but not least, Eddie Grant, former president of the Students' Union at ATU Letterkenny. Have a great weekend, Eddie. Thanks for your time. Enjoy it. All right, take care of yourself. All right, we'll be back with more on the programme, including your comments after the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
It's the 50% off mega summer sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Up to 50% off all tiles, wood flooring, outdoor porcelain tiles, cladding and bathware. Everything in store has been slashed in price. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring 50% off mega summer sale. Stores nationwide. Sale now on.
Summer is here, and so is the hottest sale of the year at Easy Living Furniture. Get ready to transform your home with incredible deals during our sizzling summer sale. With absolutely everything reduced, why not spruce up your living room with a stylish sofa? Create the perfect dining experience with our stunning collection of dining sets and relax in comfort with our cozy bedroom furniture. The spectacular summer sale is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
I'm not the kind of person who wants to sit in a metal box. I don't want to slowly die in traffic. I want to ride a motorbike. And I want to keep riding a motorbike. I don't want to suddenly die in traffic. I'm not the kind of person who wants to lie in a wooden box.
Biking is a joy. Don't let it kill you. A third of bikers who have died on our roads were speeding. So ease off the throttle and keep within the speed limit. From the Road Safety Authority.
Ulster Senior Ladies Champions Donegal face off with Leinster Champions Dublin at the quarter-final stage of the All-Ireland Championship this weekend. Join us on Highland for full match commentary on Sunday afternoon from the 2 p.m. start at Micheal Park, Ballybuffet, as Maxi Kern's side chase a last four place. Coverage of the Donegal Senior Ladies on Highland is in association with Henry McGinley & Sons Limited Milford. For all your general engineering queries, corner lintels and specialist fabrications. Call for a quote on 074 91 53 181.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. A Donegal TD says homeowners affected by defective blocks must be included on the implementation steering group, which is to be established to work through issues as they arise in the new redress scheme. In a submission to an Oireachtas Housing Committee at which the defective blocks issue was discussed, Deputy Joe McHugh welcomed the establishment of the group but stressed the need for homeowners to be included. Deputy McHugh told the Oireachtas Committee that based on his ministerial experience, the biggest risk is that officials now regard the issue as having been addressed and move on to something else. That, he says, cannot be allowed to happen.
My fear and my brief knowledge of being in different departments is once a box is ticked, once a scheme is introduced, you're so busy in your world and you have so much going on and you have so many housing issues and all that. That bit's done. Let's move on, let's move on. We can't allow that to happen with this scheme because this scheme is not the scheme. It's too complex, it's too big, it's too wide, it's too varied, it's too challenging. I'm asking for the voice of the homeowner to be represented on that implementation committee.
A nationwide Garda alert has reportedly been issued for a crime gang which ram-raided several shops across the country. The Irish Independent reports this morning the group has stolen thousands of euro worth of goods and carried out significant criminal damage in its crime spree. It's believed the group has carried out 8 organised robberies in Dublin, Westmeath, Wexford, Kildare, Meath, Galway and Roscommon. The paper reports at least 6 people are involved in the gang, with a regional coordinated investigation now underway. More than 240,000 households were behind with their energy bills in May. New figures by the energy regulator CRU show a further 165,206 gas customers in arrears. The total number of electricity disconnections last year was 2,498. That compares to 912 the previous year. But the CRU says the 2022 disconnection figures are still lower than the figures pre-COVID. Ireland's greenhouse gas emissions fell by only 2% last year, according to the latest assessment by the Environmental Protection Agency. The decrease is less than half the reduction required, with the agency warning meeting future targets will be extremely challenging. Ireland has signed up to national and international obligations with targets to halve emissions by 2030. Dr. Cara Augustenberg, the Professor of Economic Policy at UCD, says last year transport almost derailed the success in other areas.
We had a 6% increase
increase on 2021. Now, it's still a little bit down from pre-COVID levels, but obviously it's rising as we get back to business as usual. It's still on the rise. And it really shows that we have to get out of this mindset that it's all about electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are not going to be the solution to our transport issues.
A Donegal priest says a fact-based education system is vitally important and must have respect at its core. However, speaking on today's 9 till noon show, Father John Joe Duffy said parents should be given the right to opt out from the programme being taught in schools. The Friday panel were discussing the new Leaving Cert sex education curriculum, which it's suggested will normalise lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and other LGBTQ plus identities, relationships and families, rather than marginalising them in stand-alone lessons. It's also believed the new system should be mandatory. The government's curriculum advisors say the approach to be taken will be inclusive, underpinned by equality, human rights and responsibilities. Well, Father John Joe Duffy says parents are the primary educators and that must be respected.
Parents are the primary educators until someone is 18 years of age, and I think that there should be opt-outs for parents who do not wish to have their children involved in the present education, but that there should be a system of sex education put in place for all children, be that the parents doing it, be that it done in the schools or whatever the case may be.
Some news just in relation to the alleged assault in Slieve League on the 24th and 25th of June this year. A man in his 30s arrested yesterday as part of an ongoing investigation into that alleged incident has been charged. He's due to appear before a special sitting of Ballyshannon District Court this afternoon. The importance of hearing the voice of the child will be discussed at today's Family Law Conference. The Law Society of Ireland is considering the proposed legislation, the Family Courts Bill, to reform Ireland's family law and justice system. It says, while welcome, the new law requires significant improvement before it goes through the Oireachtas. Law Society President, Sligo solicitor Micheal O'Boyle, says children's voices must be heard.
Well, we have a big concern around ensuring we have the voice of the child properly heard and addressing the best interests of the child. Those are areas which are of huge concern to us. Also, with regard to having proper active case management and conducting proceedings in a family-friendly manner to reduce conflict and waiting times and, of course, to minimise costs.
Well, the forecast and Met Éireann tell us bands of rain moving up from the south during the morning with heavy falls at times will bring a risk of localised flooding. That rain continuing through to this evening with fresh and gusty easterly winds in highs of 13 to 16 degrees. A quick reminder that there is a weather warning in place, a yellow warning in place today from midday until midnight with a risk of localised flooding and difficult driving conditions. Bands of rain will continue to move north and clear to isolated showers later tonight. Some isolated clear and dry spells will develop as winds ease. Overnight temperatures 11 to 13 degrees Celsius. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. The obituary notices for this Friday morning, the 14th of July. The death has occurred of Dermot Maguire, Idergol Ardra. Funeral Mass at 1 o'clock this afternoon in the Church of the Holy Family, Ardra, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations, if desired, to Cancer Care West, care of any family member, or Derek McCabe, funeral directors. House private, please, before the funeral. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Lucky you dealing with me, the car and home insurance miser. Now listen, Kilser, I got a great deal for you today. Not as good as the deal I got in my new driveway.
Why is it this hard to save a bit of money on simple car or home insurance? Well, getting a quote from An Post Insurance is never this hard. For car and home insurance that's a little more human, call 0818 22 2222 or visit onpostinsurance.ie.
The driveway's going to win a prize, man.
Acceptance criteria, terms, conditions apply. One Direct Ireland Limited trading as An Post Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of An Post. Home insurance underwritten by Aviva Insurance Ireland DAC. Best prices online.
You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Good morning if you are just joining us. If you are only tuning in, you missed an interesting panel discussion. Again, thanks to Father John Joe, Dr. Joe Kelly, Eddie Grant, former president of the Students' Union at ATU, Letterkenny. You can always watch back that item on our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland, or you can podcast it on our website, highlandradio.com. All right, let's get to some of your comments. Great panel on today. It's great to see a balanced conversation. Good morning. Brilliant, insightful and balanced debate on Highland Radio this morning. The Friday panel is must-listen-to radio. Would Highland facilitate a conversation in the future about the potential United Ireland, the pros and cons, maybe with a Northern and Southern nationalist and Northern and Southern unionist added to the conversation? Keep up the great work. I would be very open to that, but I'll tell you what I'm even more interested in as well is a conversation about the practicals of it, okay? And I've said this before, and I apologise in saying that, but how does the postal system work? How does employment work? How does it affect the Irish economy? How does it affect the Northern Irish economy? What does it mean for our health service? What would that mean to, people's health in Donegal in terms of cancer treatments? Would we have Altnagelvin as a centre of excellence, or what about road spending? What about rail, supporting the rail network up in the north, and what could we, if that was the way we were to go? Those are the types of questions that really, when it comes down to it, I think a lot of people might actually be voting on in a referendum rather than the green or the orange, if you know what I mean. And I know that I don't even like using that phrase, but it's just to try and sort of make my point. A caller says King William of Orange brought in the penal laws against the Catholics and also the Presbyterians. The Presbyterians unbelievably choose to celebrate this. It's madness that Catholics would agree to celebrate 150 years of abuse, as that texter frames it. So we have a bank holiday to placate people who burn the Irish flag and burn images of our democratically elected people. Really? Asks a listener. Another, most Catholic residents in Northern Ireland have no desire to have a united Ireland. We do have surveys that suggest that's not the case, to be honest with you. But there are different groupings in Northern Ireland now. There are, maybe people who don't support either of the main nationalist or unionist parties. Alliance is one of the fastest growing parties. There are people that will make a decision based on how it might affect their business, not necessarily which church or chapel they do or supposed to go into, but perhaps even don't. Greg, what do your panel of listeners think of Minister Norma Foley saying that children who do not participate in classes of the new curriculum, they could require evaluation? Another, hope teachers get proper in-service and upskilling to deliver this complex programme. Huge differences between a specialised RSE teacher having a class discussion and, say, reading material from a textbook in a woodwork room, science lab. I hope schools are given proper resources to deliver this course, allowing all pupils to get an equal insight. As there's a million with an Irish background living in Scotland, and St. Patrick's Day is not a public holiday there. Another, did you not see the TikToks of the carry-on at Orange Marches on the 12th? No way do we want that sectarianism celebrated. The speakers never explained orange bigotry. Another caller says, it is true, Donegal has the largest population of Orange men on this island. Not hard to know where they live. Just look at the largest acreage, is what they're saying. Okay. Hi, Greg. 25 years of the Good Friday Agreement, yet the peace wall's still in place in Belfast. Does that not say it all? Both communities need to be integrated so that they become familiar and break down notions about each other's traditions. From Liam. Yes, Liam. And again, I don't understand, and there don't really, I do understand, but I don't believe I have a rich enough understanding of the nuances to sort of insert myself in that. So my simple approach is that, and it's notional perhaps and unrealistic, that we need to sort of start making sure now that we are laying the foundations for this generation, the next generation, the generation after them, to be able to live respectfully of each other, respect each other's traditions, not necessarily wave them in each other's faces. That could be, on the 17th of March, or it could be on the 12th of July. I don't know. You know what I mean? But recognise everyone's culture and history, but not hate each other. Respect and morals have been lost in this country, says a listener, and across the world. If respect was alive and well, we would have less domestic violence in the home, less rape and child abuse. And I mean by both sexes, not just one side or the other. With regard to the topic about gender and sex education, how did humans exist on this planet for millions of years and not have all this information? And it is disabled people not part of this gender equality. They are denied the right to live with what we call a normal life, and there's no group to talk or give them their rights. I mean, I take your point. I won't even comment on it. But for millions of years on this planet, there were, and even right now, there are cultures that it's perfectly normal. Some of the stuff that we're talking is perfectly acceptable within those cultures, and for centuries there is reference to this type of stuff, so it's not brand new. Personal, moral and religious values are supposed to be protected in our constitution, but these values don't seem to get much respect from many media sources. Another, parents must stop and take more time to be involved in their children's education and know what and how subjects are treated. Joe's well informed and I never had much time for certain psychological experiments. Okay, so I agree that we need to, and to some extent we try and do it on this programme, we do try and emphasise the importance of us not necessarily say what I would say or what someone might say, but to inform ourselves, because it's our children. Don't be naive, Greg. There are weirdos out there who do have an agenda to corrupt and exploit children. To what end, though? What is the... we have at the moment in this country, we're fearing what could happen. We're fearing what could happen. But look at our history. Look at our history of how we cared for our children. Look at what's going on at the moment. Look at the statistics in terms of children who are abused still, children who are neglected when they need mental health supports, children with needs, additional needs. The supports aren't there for that. Look at how we now are right live now and historically treating our children. It's not really very, very good. You look at the statistics. We're letting them down at some point. So I would love to see us focus on making sure that children right now are cared for as best as they can be cared for, that they're protected from horrible individuals that would rob them of their innocence, that we make sure, whatever it takes, that we fully resource services to make sure our children have the best supports to have the most productive and happy lives. Rather than worrying, and I'm not saying it's not happening, but we're worrying about this big bad wolf and what they're trying to do. My word, look at what's happening now live. And no one, well, I mean, that's that no one wants to talk about. That's not the case at all. But, we're in the here and now as well. I would love to see attention there and the anger there and the fury there. I get it. Go into libraries and take books out and scream about what about the children. Yeah, but let's also get on the streets and say where's the money to support our children now? Where is the resources to ensure that TUSLA can support children and is actually doing it right and productive for the children and their families? Where is the supports to make sure that children aren't being exploited or abused? And that they're safe in their beds at night. I'd love to see people also focus on that as well. The agenda is population control, says a listener. Heterosexual relationships interfere with population control. Same-sex relationships and abortion control limit population. It's that simple. I really don't understand how we can't have a referendum on mass immigration. Poland and Denmark has announced plans to hold a referendum on the EU migrant deal. If you look at some of the policies, what we are looking at the moment in terms of, paying fines to not take migrants into this country. There's another pan-European agreement that I think we haven't quite signed up to yet. There is, it doesn't get any coverage though, but there is some moves that might limit those numbers, I believe, into the future. Please ask Mr. Kelly if he's ever listened to Joe Duffy on our national broadcaster. Of course, people can talk about anything without being shut down. Right, okay. I'm not really... I'm not going to get into a tete-a-tete, but I think so. But that's kind of at odds to what I've heard, and I don't mind. I enjoy him rowing with listeners. To be honest with you, wouldn't be my thing. But if you think there's a few subjects there now that I just don't think would tally with what I've heard with my ears. But anyway, look, be that as it may, we've got plenty to come up on the programme today. Alan O'Reilly of Carlow Weather is a regular contributor to this programme, not always bringing good news of late if you're into hot and sunny and dry weather, but he's actually in Donegal holidaying at the moment. So rather than getting him on the phone, we're going to get him into studio. He's going to join us between 11 and 12. The band is back together. Micheal and fionnuala return as a double act for the first time in what seems like weeks, because that's precisely how long it is. And of course, Tony Forrester is going to be joining me very shortly too, to talk about the Chamber Awards and how you can enrol in them and what role you might have in choosing the winners, and looking forward to what's going to be a big night later in the year. There's that and so much more besides. So stay right where you are. We'll be right back.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Friday, July 14th. You're playing on a yellow coloured sheet. The reference number is S20. It's game number 28. The numbers are 83, 51, 63, 41, 90, the number 6, 13, 24, 31, and the number 9. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 p.m. tonight, leaving your name, contact number, and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. Get all your NCBI Radio Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Wedding suits packages are now 20% off. Just book your wedding suits before August 31st and get a whopping 20% off. Don't stand still. Evolve. Letterkenny Retail Park. Terms and conditions apply.
Join us in Austin-le-Alton, Gordahork every Friday night this summer for Donegal's best night of music and dance with one of Ireland's finest singer-songwriters and entertainers, Sinead Crampsey, on stage from 10 till 12. Why not come early and join us for our Friday night steak night offer? 2 delicious steaks for just €36 and stay overnight with bed and breakfast the following morning for just €70 per person. For reservations, call Austin-le-Alton on 074 9135 267.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Right, now, just got a lovely, I'm a little bit late with this. I got a lovely card in that reads as follows. Dear friends, I would like to thank you, all my family and friends and good people, especially my goddaughter Ciara, Mary, Maggie and all who helped on my 60th party on the 12th of June. To my special friends who sent cards and gifts, and to Daniel O'Donnell for the special message. To all my friends I work with, thanks for a great night. Thank you, Mum and Dad. That comes in from Joanne Doherty. Please play Daniel O'Donnell. Well, I'm not sure I'll get to him, but if John doesn't, I'm sure. She's tried to bribe me with a tea bag. Look, but it's almost would make me do it. We'll see how things go. Right, okay. We are joined in studio now by Tony Forrester, who is CEO of Letterkenny Chamber. Hiya, Tony. Thanks
Hi, Greg.
for joining
How are you?
us. It's great to have you in studio with us. Right, okay. So the Letterkenny Chamber Business Awards 2023 is up and running now, and it's all about celebrating the best of business in all of Donegal.
It certainly is. We've been running them for 10 years, maybe 9-10 years now. And this is really, they're growing every year. And it's really about excellence in business. People doing great things, around everything really, investing in their people, sustainability, marketing, and a whole range. We have about 16 awards.
Yeah, and it's amazing when you talk about the 10 years, Tony, because obviously there are some mainstays that say the same, but there's been some amount of change too, hasn't there? And the awards over that decade have adapted to recognise that, but it's been really rapid change. I say we have our core traditional sort of businesses, but it's the expansion and the diversity is massive now.
It really is, and people are cleverer really at how they do things. But there's particularly in this last year, we added investing in people and workplace of the year. Now, why they're important is that retention's really important to businesses these days. Hiring's difficult, and then they hire, but they want to keep them. So people are investing, they're looking at their people and saying, what can I do to make you stay, to make you want to be part of our business? And so the investment in people one's all about career progression. It's all about training. So, and businesses are doing fabulous stuff for that. And we actually, I was just visiting business yesterday, and that's one of their key strategies. And Workplace of the Year then is really somebody who's at this great culture. And
to see the value in staff, in employees, because there is a culture whereby you keep your staff down and then they don't come looking for this and they'll come looking for that. But that's why you end up with the huge turnover of staff. You look after them and obviously you reward them within the means, of course, of your company. But that's the success to a company too, isn't it? It's the customers and it's the staff.
If you go into some places and you can just feel that they're all in it together, everybody's working together, and everybody kind of knows what the mission of the company is. And that's really important. That they're the two that we really wanted to add, and they're exciting and they're good, and some businesses might think, oh no, sure, I'm small, I can't. That's not really our thing.
Yeah.
But actually, when they start delving down into their business, why have they kept their staff for? I was talking to a business the other day. Some of them have been there for 24 years, for the whole length of the business, and they love it.
Yeah.
So there's something in that we want to capture.
For sure. And before we run through, the process a little bit, a word to the sponsors. You've got some brilliant sponsors on board again, which is a testimony, I think, to the place that these awards are held in, because it's not easy to get all these big names and some medium-sized names involved, so they have to buy into this as well, and what you're trying to do, Tony.
Yeah, so we kept about I'd say 90%, maybe more than that, of our sponsors from last year to this year. And even through COVID, a few stayed with us, which was interesting. But yeah, we've got we've got a big range of them, and most of them have been there from the beginning. But last year, interestingly enough, then we got approaches by a few people. Oh, I'd like to be part of that.
Great.
And that's part of when
great
we make
endorsement,
another
actually, so I was looking forward.
It's amazing. And Airgrid have stayed with us. They came last year, and they're staying with us this year and probably next year as well.
Yeah.
As our overall sponsor. But we have banks who love this kind of thing.
Collab's in there as well, which is about innovating, supporting, creating. Linear Electric Cannon's good too, because that's about the future, but it's also a nod to our traditions and our past. The airport, of course, vital in terms of bringing people in and out. Highland Radio, the council, City of Derry Airport as well. I'm going to mention them all now.
Good, I'm glad you're doing
but
it.
You know what I mean? I feel like, Bank of Ireland, you mentioned. FM Services, Optum, again, two great companies. The Donegal ETB, so that's the educational side of it as well. AIB, you mentioned. Dillon's Hotel, Donegal Airport, as I mentioned. Permanent TSB, Peacham.
Yeah. And they're new.
Yep. Airgrid, which are a significant sponsor as well, and the council supporting this.
And Donegal Local Enterprise.
Donegal Local Enterprise as well. Leo, the local Leo office. Yeah. Right. So then you're trying to hit on covering all the important elements of business, the work within the business, what they do. You've got the Hall of Fame, which is always a huge honour for anyone to receive that, I'm sure. And then the Business Person of the Year too, all covered. I think they're the,
But we've always done those awards, and they're the exciting awards. Now, those two aren't competitive. Well, they are competitive. We get nominations for those, and the judges pick between whoever we get, mostly nobody knows except a few people.
Yeah.
So on the night, it's lovely. They get honoured. They know they're getting it, but they don't tell their families.
Right.
And it's one of the highlights of the night. We always get a standing ovation for everybody, and it's funny, even businesses that maybe aren't as well known as others. It's lovely. And Hall of Fame is one of my favourites.
Yeah, and as I say, an eye on the future, best new business and young business person of the year as well, because you need to convey a belt of innovation and
they were new. The young person in particular, I think we've done that slightly before, but we want to tweak it a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's for people under 35. And interestingly, we're getting applications in for that, so we're delighted.
Yeah.
Business, I suppose I would pick out marketing. That's funny. Marketing is everybody does it. And I think sometimes people underplay it.
Yeah.
So we'd love to see people sort of look at their, what do they do with their marketing, and put some applications in for that. And I mentioned the other two. Health and wellbeing we've changed. So anybody who maybe has been in for that before could look at that one again.
Yes.
Because that could be anything. It could be somebody running a gym. It could be a dance, fitness thing. Somebody who's working with community
Yeah,
to improve their health.
Recognising an outstanding small business, doing business through Irish, that one's specific to Letterkenny if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken,
it
but
is.
outside of that it's not. The Retailer of the Year, Sustainable Superstar, Investing in People, which you've referenced, Best Health and Wellbeing Initiative, as you mentioned there, Excellence in Customer Service, Business Excellence, Excellence in Innovation. So in terms of nominations, as you say, they're coming through. You want businesses to say, we're talking about marketing. Here's a marketing opportunity for you. Sometimes you have to shout for yourself.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, we always talk about marketing as our business is telling your story. And that's what these awards are about. Tell us why you should win. And we've simplified it all this year, have to be honest.
Okay.
And I was pushed to do that. So there's 2 questions that are very specific to the award, and then there's 2 like, who are you and why should you win? So it's simple enough to do. But I think people are a bit reticent sometimes to talk about themselves.
It's a cultural thing,
it is.
I think.
But if you...
they might think I'm being big-headed. No, you are working in a difficult environment. You're doing brilliant. Celebrate it. Be proud of what you're doing, because we're proud of you.
Yeah, we all go into businesses and go, oh, wow, look what you've done over the years.
Exactly.
So all we're asking people to do is say, I've actually done that and I'm great. And people love awards for their websites. They loved having, we even find people who didn't win, they like having that kind of little stamp on their website. And that's really important. When you go for tenders and all of that kind of, putting in quotes for things, people go, what have you done? Well, we won an award. And our awards have fairly good stature now. So,
it's brilliant.
It's really
so
just
you look
talking
at, you
about
look at
yourself.
the list, right? And it's a relatively short list. And I've got my business, and I'm going, right, well, I run kayaking tours. Where do I go in there? But you'll figure that out. I mean, I would stick that in probably in Best Health and Wellbeing Initiative. I have no clue. Tourism. Sorry, that's exactly the one I was thinking of. It was actually, or it could be excellence in marketing if you've come up with a quirky way to get your message. In other words, the point I'm trying to make is that your business fits in here. Just have a look through and go right. And I suppose that you well used to think outside the box in terms of business, but if it's not initially obvious, there's a slot.
There's
there
definitely
for
a slot there for everything.
No doubt about
and
it.
if somebody's a bit confused or wants a wee bit of information, just give us a ring. Now, so I don't know if can I bring this up now. We are extending the closing date.
Bro.
So today was supposed to be our closing date, and we've decided we've got a huge response, but we get more.
Yeah.
And with the summer holidays, so we're opening for another 2 weeks.
You know the way it is. We always have to extend it on everything because.
Lastminute.com.
No, I'll do that next week.
Yes.
And you just need to give people that extra little.
And
kick
I
up
will
the
be
bum.
on. I'll put my hands up and say I had to apply for awards earlier in the year.
Yeah.
And I left it to the last minute.
Right, okay, yeah, that's fine.
So
I think everyone probably knew these things get extended, don't they?
So we try, and we it's great to be here to be able to say that.
Yeah.
So people have 2 more weeks, but I would just say do them. If you're thinking about doing today, do it today.
Right, I want to make sure the message is incredibly clear then, Tony, and not because of you, but because of me. So what we're doing at the moment, we're talking about the Letterkenny Chamber Business Awards 2023, which are hugely prestigious, and even being involved, shortlisted, you don't have to win. It's a fantastic marketing for you again, for lots of businesses out there. It's a call to businesses to go onto the website, which is
letterkennychamber.com/business awards.
And you look at the categories and you click in, you say, right, my business goes in here. You have to, you're encouraged, you must market yourself by saying, this is why I'm good. This is why I should win. Don't be worried about that. Exactly. And submit your application. Now, people have, how long is it?
Until the 28th of July.
28th of July, right. So it is a much more simpler process. I don't know. That's what Tony's saying. So that it'll not take too much of your time, but go in there and say, you know what, this is why I should win. It's about time more of us start doing that. And some are great at it, but level the playing field. Everyone have a go in it. Okay, so that's that. And then what happens next? So
then what happens is we will have a judging panel, probably towards the end of August. They will then shortlist. So they'll take 3 for each category.
Yep.
Then those 3 will then be showcased over our social media platforms over the month for September right through to the awards night, which is in November.
Yeah.
And then on the night, so we also then open it to vote at some stage. We just to get a bit of reaction from the general public. and then we do a final sort of recce on it all, and then the winners are announced on our event on the 10th of November.
Brilliant, which is in the Clanry Hotel this year, a superb venue. That's the 10th of November. And are tickets available now?
Oh, yeah.
What way? So people can secure their tickets.
Yeah.
And it's €75 per head, which involves a full night out as
full night out.
Else, some beautiful food
and some dancing afterwards.
Brilliant. So get on to the Chamber website, which is, one more time,
letterkennychamber.com/business.
All right, okay. And, if you've got 5 minutes over the weekend, make sure that you put your business forward for that. All right, Tony, thank you so very much indeed.
Thank you so much, Greg.
Back with more shortly.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Do your little ones have jam-packed schedules? Kit them out at Dunnes Stores with a uniform that can keep up. Get joggers that will survive PE on the muddy pitches from just €5, and sweatshirts that will breeze through messy art projects from just €3.75. Pick up a comfy knitted school jumper from just €3.75 and a 3-pack of playproof polos from just €5. Back to school at Dunnes Stores for little ones with big schedules. Shop in-store and online now. Terms and conditions apply.
Why leave all the magic moments or great scenes you've captured on your phone sitting there or in the cloud when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using the McGee's app or one of the in-store kiosks, you can upload your photos from your phone, Google Photos, Facebook or Instagram and have them printed instantly within an hour or in by 10 and ready by 5. See mcgees.ie for more details. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
Building, buying or renovating? Irwin Expert Electrical, your one-stop shop for all your electrical appliance needs. Enjoy our free layaway service and explore a wide range of brands including energy-efficient, large and small kitchen appliances and food prep essentials. Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
It's a huge day on Saturday for the Bunagee ladies. The Dry Arch Park side are in Galway for the FEI Women's Amateur Cup Final against Terranure Rangers. Tune Highlands Way for updates from the 2 o'clock kickoff this Saturday in association with the Dry Arch Complex Letterkenny. 24-hour service station, shop, deli, off-licence and dry arching.
Now, as I mentioned on the show yesterday, I want to talk about... I personally don't want to talk about it. I want to give listeners the opportunity to have what they're talked about on this programme. And we're going to be talking about what is perceived as or is an increase in what seems to be really quite serious antisocial behaviour at times in Letterkenny. Now, this is not to say that Letterkenny is unsafe to go to or that we don't want to do any damage to businesses. That's not what this is about. But also what we have to recognise is that we are seeing more of really quite extreme violence in some videos that are circulating. They're all around there. People are discussing at their kitchen tables and forwarding them on to each other. So I wanted to sort of invite Councillor Jerry McMonagle onto the show. He's the chair of the Joint Policing Committee, but also a local councillor, just to get a sense of what he believes is ongoing on. Because, Jerry, if we don't talk about it, a perception can develop anyway, which can be really quite damaging, whether it's a reality or not. So we have to talk about these things, don't we?
Yeah, we do, Greg, and good morning, and good morning to all the listeners. And it is a topic out there, and people are very worried. They're getting annoyed at what they're seeing. There's an awful lot of bad videos going about. And, a lot of discussion has been going on behind the scenes with Gardaí, retailers, council. But I think, it's out there, and we need to, I think, as a community, collectively address this issue. It's getting very violent. We need to drill down to see what is the cause of it. And there's I believe, multiple causes. And it's not just a law and order issue. It's, as I say, I think there's a job of work there to do for many of our agencies and indeed our local communities, and also from a parenting point of view as well. So people need to come together as a collective. The agencies, the Gardaí, the council, we need to sit down and talk, and local community, and we need to try and formulate a plan of action to address this, because generally Letterkenny is a safe place. It's a great place to live in, work, and it offers so much as regards shopping and leisure, etc., etc. But we have this small core of people who are regularly involved in crime, and it's becoming more vicious, and it's starting to really worry people. And we need to sit down now and take stock of this, and where we can, we need to put the supports and the resources into trying to address the issue.
Yeah, because it's broad daylight. It's in between around cars. It's in shopping places where people congregate. There's call-out videos that are really quite brazen. You know, as I say, relatively isolated, but it's there. It's not up some side street at night. And I think that's what sort of people view that. And we'll see that as Letterkenny as a whole, which I've pointed out and you've pointed out, that is simply not the case. But you have to tackle perception too. And we don't want to find ourselves in a situation where someone is incredibly seriously injured, because people are getting kicked on the ground, kicked in the head, stabbed and this type of stuff. So I get where you're talking about. We also have to talk about or address what societally needs to be done to support people or families so that people don't go down certain pathways and find themselves in certain lifestyles. But in terms of, I suppose, the more immediate thing, Jerry, would be, say, for instance, a policing presence, because that instantly offers some level of security, and then it's an instant deterrent as well. So in terms of that, have we had any words from the Guards in terms, do they have the resources? Do they have the will? What's the situation?
Yeah, well, first of all, Garrick, I would like to commend the Guards for their quick action, because in two of the incidents that we're probably talking about, the people involved in that have been brought to court and are now facing criminal charges. And that's to be very much welcome. But it's a reaction to an incident or incidents that are happening. And what we want, and from discussions we've been having with the Gardaí in the chamber, is a bigger presence, more foot patrols, Gardaí more accessible, being seen on the streets, so that people feel safe, but also they prevent these type of incidents happening, as you say, in broad daylight or indeed in the evening times. So look, I know from talking to Gardaí, they are under pressure, and we have to say that. There's no other way to describe it. They don't have the current manpower that they would need. They don't have enough Gardaí. They don't have enough vehicles. And it's a battle every day for the Gardaí to put that out on the street and to ensure that there's adequate policing. But I have to say, with the resources that they have, that they're doing the best that they possibly can. But we have made it clear, and we had the Commissioner up here, and we pointed out the difficulties that we're having in Donegal and have been for a long time, the need for more resources and all the different aspects of that being close, 93% of our border with the north. We have a Gaeltacht, we have ports, we have airports. It's a very geographically widespread area. And to the next part of the new operating model, it's not going to work. And Donegal needs to be a standalone division, and we're making that case very forcibly with the Commissioner. Indeed, yesterday it was raised with the Policing Authority at a meeting that I was at with PPM members in Carrick and Shannon. So it is primarily a resources problem, but there's many other aspects. It's not just a law and
we'll
order
get to that, but I think it's worth pointing out, Jerry, you would know and I would know that all of the challenges that we face here in terms of our border, in terms of our ports and what have you, these are arguments that senior Gardaí in Donegal do make to Dublin. I've heard the former head of the force say this in an interview. So they get it locally. They're making that same argument. The issue is here, and maybe it comes from a political pressure, or I don't know, is that the guards go, right, okay, or the head of the guards go, all right, we have to resource them, because what we do see, if it goes on the news that there's a certain type of crime in a certain area of Dublin, all of a sudden resources get sent there. If there seems to be a particular issue in a border county and the press is all over it, all of a sudden extra resources are sent there. We don't want a force that its resources are used reactionarily as to what's making the headlines. We need decisions made on the need on the ground, even, as I say, if it's not featuring on RT's 1 o'clock news. We need to be assured that that's how the police force is being run, I feel, Jerry.
Yeah, and look, when you talk about Dublin, like within, if an incident happens in Terenure, within 15, 20 minutes, they get 50 Gardaí there because they're all around Terenure. They're in the city centre, the north side, south side, east, west, Dublin. We have a situation here where in Donegal, if there's an incident in Carndonagh, we have to probably send somebody from Letterkenny or Dunlow or Ballyshannon. You know, I mean, the armed response unit is based in the south of the county, and they have to travel an hour to get there. You know, so look, we have. I don't think they're looking at it in the round, and treating everybody the same is not right. They need to look at Donegal as a special case, just like Kerry. Kerry is a standalone division, and they've cited tourism as a reason there. I mean, it's nonsense that. I'm glad that Kerry is a standalone division, but we in Donegal need to, because of all of the points I pointed out, our geographic makeup, our closeness to the border, our ports, the Gaeltacht, islands, and our airport, and we cannot get extra resources. And I can't for the life of me wonder why that is the case, Craig.
Yeah, because it's not seen as a big enough problem to resource, I think. Okay, we'll track. Hopefully, this is a period of time where we've had some quite high profile stuff, and things will calm and settle down, and you know, we'll address that too. But as I say, this is not about discouraging anyone, but it's about recognising what people are talking about. Councillor Jerry McMonagle, Chair of the Joint Policing Committee, thank you very much for joining us. Councillor Michael McClafferty on line one, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning, listeners. Good morning, Jerry.
Right, Jerry's just left us, but anyway, you are encouraging people not to share videos on social media.
I believe, Greg, the videos of this nature is not helping matters, to be quite honest with you. I believe in some instances it's possibly actually fueling the fire as such. For example, if somebody's a video of a fight or a crime or whatever, my opinion on it would be, and my personal opinion would be, as your first port of call is your local Garda station, and let them take it from there, because I just feel that the more it's been shared, the more it's been viewed, it's only causing problems going forward. Also, as well, I would have a fear as well. I have wondered about these cases now over the last while, not isolated to Letterkenny now, but just these types of cases in general that some have happened in Letterkenny, they're happening all over the place, and then they end up on social media. But I do wonder, as I was saying to Carolyn there, what happens when the day comes if and when these people end up in court then? Is there going to be an argument then that their rights were violated then because they were videoed and so on without their consent? Does it fall between two stools on the data protection? I know it's something that may need to be trashed out yet, but that's my fear about it. And when
I think definitely maybe in a jury trial, you might have a point there. And I'm not in any way saying or encouraging people to share this information, because I don't view it anyway. But maybe in a jury, in a really high profile case, maybe a defence solicitor could make that argument.
Yeah, well, that's the thing I see about it, Greg, and I just feel I don't see what is the point sharing this on social media to all and somebody to see. Like, it's not helping anybody anything. Obviously, there's people fighting, there's people doing whatever. That situation needs to be addressed, and I do wonder when people take these videos and put them on social media as their own choice, by the way. But I wonder, does the people actually go to the local Garda station and say, "Look, folks, I have this here. Would you be interested in taking a copy of it?"
Yeah.
You know, I wonder, does that actually happen, or is it just let go on social media and then left to the guards and hear about it? Then obviously it's been reported to them, the likes of the series ones, the last day and so on, and then the Gardaí have started trying to trace or troll through social media then to try and find out then who is responsible for launching it first of all. If that can be established or not, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I mean, but that being said, it's a regular occurrence where Gardaí will appeal for video footage. They'll say, you know, if anyone videoed this, or if they've got dash cam footage or CCTV footage, send it in to us. I mean, it's the mainstay now of any appeal across the country.
And I fully appreciate that, Greg.
So maybe it's very looking for that.
But it proves, yeah, that's fair enough, Greg, and I appreciate your point there. But again, it backs up the point as well that I'm saying. When the Gardaí are appealing for it, and they're rightly so to appeal for it, but clearly people are not volunteering it to them either when they're appealing for it.
Yeah, okay.
You know,
no, I understand. We have to. Yeah, it's measured. It's measured. The right thing lies somewhere in between where we're at and maybe, you know, an extreme alternative. All right, thank you very much, Councillor Michael McClafferty. He's also a member of the Joint Policing Committee, of course.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Summer reductions on your favourite brands at Brian McCormick Sports, Brooks and Asics with 20% off. Check in-store and online. Brooks Glycerine and Adrenaline 22 GTS save 20%. Asics Keanu 29, Asics GT 2011 save 20%. Get ready for the summer and save 20% off your favourite kids' Asics trainers. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
At Heron Auto Opel, we're a full type of people, which is how we come up with the Opel 50/50 finance offer. Choose from the Opel Crossland, Corsa or Mokka. Select your flexible payment option, pair it with 3 years free servicing and meet your new other half. Discover more about Opel's 50/50 offer at the Opel Open Road event. See heronopel.ie for details. Finance is provided by way of a consumer hire purchase agreement by Bank of Ireland Finance. Lending criteria and conditions apply over 18s only. Ownership remains with Bank of Ireland until the final payment is made. Bank of Ireland trading as of Bank of Ireland Finance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Did you know Cool Kids Sligo have the biggest range of baby equipment in the Northwest with 25 years of baby expertise? Cool Kids Sligo take deposits on your baby bundle. Visit us in-store at Cool Kids Sligo or shop online at babyaccessories.ie for free nationwide delivery. Make Cool Kids Sligo your #1 destination for all things baby.
2 gig full fibre broadband from Virgin Media has landed in Donegal. Hear that, Aoife? Huh? Time to lose yourself in the latest Scandi crime series.
I have no idea what's going on here.
You should really put on the subtitles.
Fair point.
Whatever your genre, whatever way you play, Virgin Media is here. Switch today at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media, it's playtime.
Subject to location and availability.
All right, some comments now coming in throughout the morning. Families in this country are crying out for children, yet the rate of abortion is high. There's too much judging in this country and it needs to stop. No one's in a position to take high moral ground on anyone else, indeed. But, I mean, obviously, yeah, okay. I'd welcome a referendum on mass immigration. The public concern on the issue is too great to ignore. The government must consult the people by way of a referendum. Well, that's been ruled out, but I take your point. You're not the first to make it. Trying to teach us normal something that the experts cannot agree on is utter madness. They say follow the science, but the science will tell you there are only 2 genders. How's that not confusing to an immature child? Why are schools pandering to minority and confusing our children? Surely it's a parent's place to educate their children on gender issues. A lot of the content in this so-called revised sex education programme can cause emotional confusion for young people who've already a lot to deal with growing up in today's world. But does that not come down to, and not an opinion, but a conversation, does that not come down to how it is taught? So rather than it being an option, you're taught, and you're taught that people who identify as certain genders exist. And that's, we're to respect each other. But that does not, would that kind of a conversation had in that way make someone go, oh, right, well, maybe that's me. It's also about how this information is related, isn't it? And we don't know that. So and again, this is not a point of view. This is for a conversation point. We don't necessarily know that. So we're fearing, are we the worst, when maybe if we were to see it and understand it and how it's related, we'd go, right, okay, actually, that's something might help my child going into college, that if they're sitting beside someone or friends with someone, that they have an understanding of why they feel the way they feel or why they are who they are, rather than not telling them anything and then them sort of reacting in a different way. And again, too, then there's a lot of parents want this to happen because they don't feel qualified or equipped to have these conversations themselves with their children. It's complex, and I'm trying to highlight the complexity in it rather than counter what a listener might say, if you get where I'm coming from. Just listening in as someone who's part of the LGBTQ plus community and who grew up in Letterkenny and went to the convent, we don't have any agendas. I was taught about sex by nuns. I was in my late teenage years when I finally had access to the internet and found information that was relevant to me. There's a lot of unsafe information on the internet, and everyone should be taught about safe, consensual sexual practices regardless of sexual orientation. And I don't think there's a great deal of dispute in relation to that. Okay, now Tina Higgins is with me on the programme now. Tina, how are you keeping?
Hello, Greg. How are you? I'm good, thank you.
You're all stressed and up to high dough, aren't you, Tina?
Listen, first of all, Greg, I want to thank everyone in the town. Has been just absolutely amazing. The people of Letterkenny and outside Letterkenny are brilliant, and thank you yourselves.
Now, we have a lot of eyes and ears here. Many of them are in Letterkenny, of course, but much wider than that. And the search is on for Ronnie. Ronnie's a rescue dog, so probably through its experience can be really quite nervous, scared of strangers, and very shy. So when did Ronnie go missing, and when was the last sighting?
Ronnie, we were over in Barcelona visiting our daughter on holidays, and Ronnie went missing from the old town last Friday around 7 o'clock, and there was sightings of him going out the Polestar and the new Aldi. And then from that day, there's been sightings every day of him by the ESB plant, and then up the mountaintop area. And the last time he was seen was last night coming down the mountaintop. So he seems to be coming out at night time between 9 and 10 o'clock.
Okay, and what does he look like?
He is a black and white Sprocker, so he's a mix between a Springer and a Cocker Spaniel. And he's just black and white, but he will run from you because he's really scared.
Yeah.
Anyone that comes to our house will know that. He's a very, very timid dog.
And anything else that's a clear description, but anything else distinguishing? Like, do we know if he had a collar on, or is he lean? Is he big? Is he tall? Is he small? I just want to make sure
he is very lean, and there's not any really distinctive detail about him, just that he's black and white, and that. But if you do call his name, that he will run. And we've been told the best way to approach him is not to call his name, and that if you see him, just call us on our numbers and just to maybe follow behind him and just keep an eye where he's going, because when somebody calls his name, he just darts and goes, and that's why by the time we get to where they are, he's gone.
Yeah, and because he's being seen at night and you're getting the calls at night, I'm sure you're missing out on sleep and all that type of stuff as well. So in an organised way tonight, from 9 p.m, you're inviting people in the Fox Hills. You run through the areas, actually, it's best, because I don't want to miss any out.
The places that he's been seen are Fox Hills, Cannon View, Glentean, and Thornbury up around the mount, and Carlass, which is up there as a connect. He can do a full circle around there through fields and Wundy Hall. He's been seeing Wundy Hall a lot, so he's that circle. So, and even up the Glencar area, even by the Grange and Chestnut Grove, those are the areas. So he seems to be doing a circle around that whole area, trying to get out.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, but he's being seen regularly, so hopefully now he's safe and well. It's just a case of you getting to where he's spotted before he moves somewhere else, because he's obviously quite transient around these areas. Listen, he has to go somewhere during the day as well, so it's very possible someone listening to us today will know where Ronnie is. Just describe him one more time for us, Tina.
He's a black and white Sprocker, so it's a mix between a Springer and a Cocker Spaniel. So he's just a bit bigger than a Cocker Spaniel. And he is just very timid. But thank you so much, Greg. Thank you.
No, Tina, listen, we hope you're reunited really quickly with Ronnie. And you're just asking people tonight in those areas he's mentioned to have a walk around, have a look around, and if you spot him. We have numbers here. If I read them out, I'm not sure people are going to be able to write them down. Any other way, I will read. Is there your Facebook page or something that we can direct people to, Tina?
Yes, my Facebook page is just Tina Higgins.
Okay.
There's a lot up on that, and
I'll also go on. I'm going to go on to your page, and I'll share the one with the contact information on, so people, if they spot him this evening, will have access to the number through my personal page as well. And hopefully, you get this sorted this evening, and you get Ronnie home for the weekend.
Oh, thank you so much, and to everybody, this has been amazing. We really, really appreciate it. Thanks a million.
All right, it's been one of those things, hasn't it, where all of a sudden everyone's taking an interest in supporting you, and
I know
it's a reminder of how great we are as a community. Yeah, okay. Well, listen, hopefully now what we need, the only thing we need now, we know the community's great. We know you love Ronnie very much. We know everyone's going to, now all we need is get him back home. That ends the story then. All right, Tina, best wishes to you and yours. Greg. And listen, fingers crossed. All right?
Thanks so much.
All right,
Thank
Tina,
you.
take care of yourself. All right, bye-bye. We'll be back with more after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
With 232 underway, it's not too late to secure your new Nissan. With the all-electric Leaf, the petrol and hybrid Duke, the new X-Trail available in a 5 or 7-seater 4-wheel drive e-Power hybrid, and the Nissan Qashqai petrol and e-Power hybrid, all available for immediate delivery. Visit iMotors in Letterkenny to find out more. Open 6 days a week.
Leisureland Redcastle, open every day from 12 till 5:30 p.m. Fantastic for family day trips. Excellent value for birthday party packages. For a wonderful family experience, check out leisurelandredcastle.ie.
The world is getting a little more. But maybe more could mean something else. More means more proactive green energy solutions. More means more wind turbines and more recycling. More means more biodiversity and more energy storage. More means more hydrogen and more solar farms, because more clean energy means more efficient living, means more thriving communities, means more energy autonomy. That's why we're more than Mona. Learn more at morethanmona.ie. Board Mona.
Entries are now being taken for the Clonmany Agricultural Show. Competitions in sheep, cattle, pony and horse, poultry, home industry, sheep shearing and show jumping. Entries close the 22nd of July. You can enter online at clonmanyshow.com or by entry form to the secretary. Email clonmanyagrishow@gmail.com. The 2-day Clonmany Agricultural Show, the 8th and 9th of August. Packed full of events for all the family.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
That's entertainment is on the way. Micheal and Fionnuala will be joining us. We want you involved in the conversation. I'll give you a indication as to how after we get a news update. It's over now to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Gardaí have confirmed a man who was arrested yesterday as part of an ongoing investigation into an alleged assault in the Slieve-Leakley-Beggs area between Saturday and Sunday, June 24th and 25th, has been charged. He's due to appear before a special sitting of Ballyshannon District Court this afternoon. A Donegal TD says homeowners affected by defective blocks must be included on the implementation steering group, which is to be established to work through issues in the new redress scheme. Deputy Joe McHugh told the Oireachtas Housing Committee that based on his ministerial experience, the biggest risk now is that officials regard the issue as having been addressed and they move on to something else. He said that cannot be allowed to happen. The Taoiseach is being urged to provide assistance for Iceland workers. Letterkenny's Iceland store was one of a number across the country to close its doors this week. Deputy Thomas Pringle in the Dáil this week raised concerns that some workers are still awaiting outstanding pay. The Taoiseach said there is an examinership process in place and the government cannot interfere with that. Donegal priest Father John Joe Duffy says a fact-based education system is vitally important and must have respect at its core. On today's 9 till noon show, he said parents must be given the right to opt out from a new programme to be taught in schools. Former ATU Students' Union President Edward Grant said the new sex education programme is a very important addition to the curriculum, which he believes is vital for the protection of young people, particularly on the cusp of entering third-level education. And nearly 406,000 households were behind in their energy bills in May. New figures from the CRU show a 10% increase in just 3 months. 240,000 electricity customers are included in those figures. Sinn Féin say the figures prove the government's energy credits did not go far enough. And they're the headlines. Back with headlines again at 12 noon.
Donald, thank you very much indeed.
Eurospar supermarkets are proud to be part of local communities throughout Ireland. We want to say thank you to those who go above and beyond to help the people of their local communities. Nominate your local community charity group or organisation in store today and they could win a share of a €10,000 Eurospar Community Donation Fund. 10 prizes of €1,000 to be won. Eurospar, your super easy supermarket. T's and C's apply.
is Friday. It's just after 11 o'clock, and we've had a busy week. There's been an awful lot of discussion about the various issues of the day, the week, whatever it might be. But now it's time, just at the end of the week, to take a break, to pause for breath, and to talk about other things that interest us in this life. And for some, it's the stage. For others, it's the cinema. Others, it's TV. It's all of it. And we're in the company now of Fionnuala Rabbit. Welcome back, Fionnuala. Long time no have you on.
I know.
Feelings?
I would like to tell you I missed you when I was sunning myself in Portugal, but
I'd check your temperature if you did.
Sadly, no.
No, I don't think so.
It was lovely.
Michael Leddy, who actually enjoys coming.
It's only been a week since I've been here, but Greg, I have missed you.
It's been emotional.
Terrible. It's been a terrible week.
Indeed. Listen, it's great to have you on board. Right, okay, or great to have you in. What are we going to talk about? This week, really what I've been doing when I had a chance, and the chances were few and far between, is catching up on the Mission Impossible films, which are really quite... I started at 4, right? So 4, 5, I think I'm just starting 6th. 7 is in the cinema or coming out now. Have you seen it? You did? Excellent. Okay, right. So, Fionnuala, go ahead.
No, well, I went back and I watched 6 myself at the weekend in anticipation of having to do this, and I have to say, as I was watching it, I was like, he's very hard to dislike him once you've seen him in, in life. I wouldn't necessarily be a big Tom Cruise fan. Sometimes you see him in stuff and you're like, seriously, what is wrong with this picture? But you see him in the Mission Impossible and it's really his niche. He's just so awesome in it, and 6 is an amazing movie. We went to see this last night, courtesy of the Century Cinema. They were premiering their new cinema with the reclining seats and the whole lot. It was absolutely fabulous. Couldn't get a more comfortable place to be sitting in. That you can just lie back and watch the movie like as if you were at home on your couch. I know, that's it. That is the one thing. But in fairness, with this movie like Mission Impossible, there's no way you're going to fall asleep in it, because even if you started to doze off, the do.
That would just be Fionnuala in B9 making that sound as she
coming down the steps
as she did.
Because you
falling head over heels. That was the old thing with the EastEnders theme, like someone falling down the stairs. Wasn't
well,
in the dark, carrying the popcorn and
and there they go. So we saw the movie last night. It is a very long movie. So what they've done with it now is they have these two. This is not the end of the franchise, which everybody seemed to think that it was originally, because this is Dead Reckoning Part 1. So obviously there's going to be a Part 2. People felt that this might be the end of the series. I mean, Cruise must be in his 60s now. We were just trying to figure it out last night.
He's just turning 60, I think.
Yeah, and in fairness, like some of the stunts that he does, you'd question the physics as to how they've actually managed to mind his own physical stamina at this hour.
I think in a way, I think that's what gives him the authenticity to, though he doesn't look his age, but to be able to do it, because the audience knows and the talk is, he did that himself. And I think, it's not like all CGI. I mean, obviously there's elements of that, but I think that's why he's an authentic sort of good guy, because you feel in real life he's doing some of it, and I think
and I think as well, I think you're right. That's the way the idea of it is that you also feel the tension of it, because you know that he did do it himself, and you're like, there's bits of them hanging upside down, rolling around in cars, as there is in all the other movies. I don't want to be giving that in specific away in this. But like in all the movies, you see him and he's rolling around, he's hanging off mountains, he's hanging off the side of buildings, he's doing all kinds of stuff like that. And it does kind of heighten the tension of it when you know that he's done it himself. I don't know if it was because this movie is part 1 of 2. This would not be in my top 5 favourite ones.
Right, okay, that's actually quite interesting comment.
It was I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy it, and in fairness, the 2.5 hours went quite quickly, considering that, but it's very kind of feels like as if it's a bit dragged out.
Right,
they could have cut 45 minutes out of it, which would purely have been explanations, or swap that 45 minutes out for a few more kind of like explosions and, jumping off crap. That's kind of what you're looking for from these movies. This movie in particular is all... The threat this time is AI. So that's the kind of idea of it. So it's sort of bringing it up with a bigger modern twist. They spend a lot of time explaining to us what the AI means and what that thing is, and you're like,
spoon feeding.
I got it.
Yeah.
We've seen, this is not the first movie to ever, or first TV program to use AI as any kind of a threat.
And it's on the news every day as well.
So it's, it's that kind of a thing. So in that instance, this was a little bit disappointing. Now, when it got down to the nitty gritty of what the Mission Impossible are good for, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, seriously. I mean, the amount of money that they must spend on stuff that they just wreck alone, I'd say, is probably about 80 million of the 110 million that the movie costs to make, because they're constantly...
110 million on what it will return seems like not much.
I know.
If you know what I can't believe I'm finding myself saying 110 million.
Isn't, I know, for to make a movie then, like when you think about all the things you could be doing with it. But I considering what they do with stuff in this movie, I wouldn't have thought it was. I mean, in fairness, you would assume, although Cruise probably gets it all on the and the sales, you know what I mean, the ticket sales and that kind of thing. That's probably where he gets his money out of it, because he could probably get 100 million for the movie alone.
So, is there enough in this? You know, when you talked about it being part 1 of 2, like, is there enough in this that you don't just leave thinking, right, we're halfway through the story, when's the next bit coming out? Like, is there enough in
Mike
this?
is probably a better one to ask about that than me, because to be honest, I watched them all, so I couldn't imagine myself, even if it was terrible, I'd have to go back to figure out how it ends.
What I'm saying is, some people might go, oh, right, well, what I'll do is I'll wait for part 2 and I'll watch part 1 at home and then part 2. Like, it's a good enough stand-enough film on its own.
Yes,
as well as it being within a 2-parter.
I know exactly what you mean. It does make sense. Yeah, that's a good, smart question. I would say yes, you can see this, because the plot mechanics of this film are wrapped up within this film. It's just that there's something else that they're like, oh, we need to do this now, and then something else will have to be figured out. And then it's at the end of this movie, you're like, well, now we have to deal with the other thing.
In fairness, before the that organisation that was established to end the world, the rogue, I can't remember what it is now, but they have done that in the past, is what I'm saying, whereby he's walking off and you think, right, now he's going to take a day off, isn't he? And the call comes in straight away saying, right, we've got our new threat immediately. No, so it's not.
It's without giving anything absolutely away. No, I think it stands well enough on its own, but there's clearly a to be continued there in your mind. Course, you're like, well, now they have, it's like they've done one thing and they always knew there was 2 things that have to be sorted, and it's only towards the end of this movie that they find out what the second thing is.
I find, and I can say because I've been watching a couple of films this week, Simon Pegg annoying. Oh, I know he's the comic relief.
Yes.
Do you?
Yeah.
I like him.
It makes me question why would Ethan Hunt work with
this guy?
Well, to be honest, they've actually, and that was one of the things in this. They, excuse me, they have kind of edited him a little bit more than he was originally. I mean, he used to be the big IT guy, and he used to be kind of, the guy in the office that was sort of saying,
out on the field,
go right, go left, do this. Always used to remind me of any of those kind of spy movies where
Chloe and 24, that kind of thing.
The person that's back in the office that's kind of doing the paperwork.
I mean, right at the start, number 5, I think, this is when, again, not a spoiler because it's at the start and it's in the trailers, where Tom Cruise is hanging from the side of the plane and your boy's trying to panic. He's panicked and he's trying to open the doors, and then he opens the cargo door, and it's like, I would never work with this person again.
Yeah, why would you?
But anyway, as I say, I'm thinking too much to it. It's a bit of fun, isn't it?
They do, and in fairness, they have good chemistry together on screen, the two of them together. And if you see them even being interviewed, they do, like, not only is he seems to be the
Stooge.
kind of blanket around Tom Cruise in the movies, he also is when they're doing interviews. That he kind of can sort of slag Tom Cruise off of it, which wouldn't necessarily be what Tom Cruise has been known for.
You get the feeling in this, I've never seen any of the other movies, but you get the feeling in this movie that there's a bond between the two characters. So it's like,
I saw that in earlier films.
It's like you're hanging out with your mate, and you might know your mate's a bit of an idiot, but you know what I mean. He's your mate, and you trust him. Like it's trust rather maybe than ability. It's like, here's someone he can trust. Sure, he might.
Are you a franchise fan, or you just watch them when it comes about?
I avoided the film. I avoided the Mission Impossible films because when the first one came out, it did something that I'm a very passionate fan of the TV show.
Oh, here we go. Right, okay.
And
let me skip past all of that.
Right. But the cast of the original as well, like Peter Graves, Greg Morris, Martin Landau, they spoke out very strongly against the first film.
Oh, I shouldn't have cut across. I was joking.
Yeah.
What did they do
in the very first movie, the villain of the first movie was the leader of the team through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, Jim Phelps. So to me and to long-term fans of the show, that'd be like saying Captain Kirk was a bad guy the whole time.
Right, okay.
Or as if it was like, imagine you went to see the new James Bond film and Bond was a double agent the whole time.
Well, listen, 20 years later...
30 years
later.
Yeah.
No, it's 20 years since the first Mission Impossible, I think, something like that.
27.
Since the first Mission Impossible film.
27.
No, it's not. Swear to God.
Swear to
Mission
God.
Impossible 1, the film's 27 years old.
1996.
Well, I am so old, it's not even funny.
But
anyway, you got over it.
Act young.
You got over it.
I went along last night.
So what would you give it out of 10 then?
7. It's a good action movie.
I think that's decent.
The last half hour of this movie is spectacular. Takes a while to get there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk, which I didn't expect in a Mission
a
Impossible.
lot of them, you know. It's not.
But the last
car
half
chases, but there's a lot of yapping in between.
Yeah, but it's spectacular.
Yeah, this in particular, I don't know why they just really over-explain. To my mind,
Oh, yeah.
anyways,
I do
they kind
understand
of,
where
you
you're
know,
coming from.
because every time they got into a new group of people, they were explaining the same thing again.
And although, as you said there, like we're well invested in what AI is in the real world, but most of the characters in this film seem never to have heard of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're like, what? This computer learns?
All right, so what would you give it out of 10 for now?
I have to say, I was surprised, but I think I'd probably settle around the 7 as well with this.
I think if this is 5 in your ranking, you have to come back a bit, don't you?
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, after because as I said, you know, the terrestrial channels are all showing the earlier movies and that kind of thing. And so 6 happened to be on, and I was like, oh, boom, I'm just going to watch 6 now and get myself, you know, back into the headspace of where everything is happening. I thought 6 was just gripping.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is a little bit less so because the first hour or so, you just feel that it kind of...
But it's definitely one to see on the big screen because the action... I was very impressed with all of it.
Watching the trailer, you really can tell stuff that's green screen and not green screen. And you know what I mean? Like, and they do a lot of the stuff.
I was impressed with the action. I was also impressed with Haley Atwell from the Captain America movies. Gotta say,
I have to. At one point, she's driving and they're in a chase scene, and I am saying Tom Cruise actually looks frightened. I was like, he's not, you know, he's usually the one that's doing the driving. He's usually the one doing everything. I was like, oh my God, he kind of looks scared there that he's not in control of it.
All right, we'll play a bit of the trailer heading into the ad break.
Dearly.
The world is changing. Truth is vanishing. War is coming.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
At Centra, feel good and shop smart with great offers this week. Like Centra Fresh Arch whole chicken 1.5 kilo, only €5. Robinson's Flute Shoot 8 packs, half price now $2.40 each. And Casiero Del Diablo Cabernet Sauvignon and Sauvignon Blanc €9 each. Centra, live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Are you tired of working from home with constant distractions? Don't let the summer chaos hinder your productivity. Join G-Tech Digital Hub today. Say goodbye to the house full of people and hello to working on your own terms. G-Tech Digital Hub, Termon and Carrigart. Call 074 91 54 291 to secure your spot.
On this week's Business Matters, I'm joined by the editor of the Fishing Daily and the director of Saltwater Media, Oliver McBride. So join me, Kieran O'Donnell, for Business Matters on Sunday evening after the 6 o'clock news. The Business Matters podcast is also available to download at highlandradio.com.
Business Matters in association with the ATU Donegal Faculty of Business. If you have an undergrad in any discipline and would like to reinforce it with a Masters in Business, ATU are offering their Masters in Business Management Conversion Programme. Call 9186 206 or email donald.hannigan@atu.ie.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
All right, time 11:18. Hi all, have been watching Hijack on Apple TV. Stars Idris Elba as a business troubleshooter caught up in a plane hijacking while travelling between Saudi Arabia and London. Only 4 episodes. An exceptional watch so far. Keeps you on the edge of the seat. Definitely one that is on my to-do list. You know, I think you find maybe when the nights draw in a little bit, I do find it hard to sort of, you know, really invest in something. I don't want to pull the blinds down when it's bright outside. Do you know that sort of
I agree. No,
so
I
I'm
mean,
kind of saving up a few of
for
these
September,
you know.
Watch it with the new announcement of the actors going on strike. Anyways,
here we go.
Don't worry about it. 75 days
What's
into the
they
writers.
want though? Have they not got enough money, or are they in support of the writers?
No, they're not getting enough money. But it's not about it. Like you know, it's not about the Tom Cruises. It's about, you know, the 200 other people that are on your, you know, the series that you watch.
They're looking for pay equity. They're looking for There's not an equal distribution.
So really, it's Hollywood's version of RTE.
That's not bad, actually. That's not bad.
I love that Fran Drescher is the president of the saga. I'm like, Fran, I love it.
I love Fran Drescher.
She was in Friends, wasn't she?
No.
Briefly,
she did sound a bit like your one in Friends. No, she was in The Nanny. Do you remember Nanny? She's very nasally.
I thought she was in.
No,
she popped up. I thought she popped up.
There's a similar actress, younger actress. Okay,
fair enough.
She's in the thing. No, but that's what they're looking for is pay. Because they think about it now, like series used to be...
trickling down.
And series used to be 22, you know, anywhere between 22 and 28 episodes. They were repeated all the time. You got residuals from it.
Yeah.
Now they're 8
And there is a thing as well, it comes up a lot in these articles, but the streaming services, there's a huge question mark over... Like, they're not great at handing out money to the talent, and they say a lot that there's a big mystery over how many people are watching shows, but the executives are getting... massive bonuses continuously. So there is money there.
Yeah, right, okay.
But it's not coming down to the talent.
Hi, Greg, in the TV too. Before I forget, DL versus Dublin in Ballybofey on Sunday. I can only assume Fionnuala's back, or she's going to need a bigger fan. But Michael's not there with 48 degrees Celsius in Spain. No, we got her back before it got really
before
hot.
it all happened.
Has anyone seen the Sky comedy show Someone Somewhere? It's actually more of a dramedy in where a woman comes back to look after her parents after her sister died in Manhattan, Kansas. It's worth a look. I think Michael mentioned that Quantum Leap reboot once, as it's just started last night in Paramount, which I believe had its first mention of AI. As the strike started last night in the US and spread to the Galway film Fla, if it's one person that needed a quantum leap this week, it would be Tubbs. And in terms of time travel. Okay. Thanks very much for that. Always well thought out. Right. Jack Ryan. This is kind of in the Mission Impossible space-ish kind of thing. It's described on Amazon. It keeps being pushed to me. Jack Ryan, the final season. Are you in it? Not starring in it, watching it?
Well, obviously I could, but I sadly wasn't asked to be starring it. But no, it's on. It's the final series season. It's probably the contract is probably sitting there.
I am a prince, and I want you to star in the new Jack Ryan, and you're like,
forward me.
Yeah, no. Somebody wanted me to rest 350 million euros in my account. I was tempted.
Fair enough.
But no, this is the final. I love this when it started this series because it was just. I thought they did a really good interpretation of the books.
Yes.
I was shocked at how good John Krasinski was as Jack Ryan because when I first heard he was doing it, I was like that. When you think of the guy from The Office or even a few other things he's been in, you kind of think of him more in a comedy role and not necessarily in action. It definitely has sort of played itself out though. There's only... to me, it's heading into 24 territory, which I know you gentlemen love, but it's like, for the love of God. You know, or Liam Neeson in Taken, you know, just ditch the daughter. She's not worth all the effort. You know, that kind of way. You're sort of a little bit in this, like that.
And then I start thinking, how many people are going to have to die? How much stuff is going to have to be destroyed to save this person? Singular.
And just like the same thing. So there's a little bit of that in this one now. But I think they know that themselves are just using this sort of to round off the story more than anything else.
Is this 4 Fionnuala? Sorry, or
yes,
3?
This is 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first 2 were great. The third one was fine.
Yes.
You know the way it's in. It was an enjoyable watch, but it just wasn't up to the kind of quality or the standard of the writing and that kind of thing that you had in the last one. This one is, excuse me. This one is based on, if you watched the earlier ones, there's always been kind of a thread through it with regard to the CIA. Is there corruption in it? That kind of thing. This is finally rooting out exactly what that corruption is and how they're going to, redo American intelligence community.
Yeah.
That's the kind of way that it's working out. I'm halfway through because it drops weekly now. It doesn't go through the thing. So it's watchable.
Can I say, though, the lead, I never got into him.
John Krasinski,
Never was like, I want to get behind him. I think he's amazing. Perfectly fine.
Yes.
But I never really felt I was rooting for him or...
The way you would for Kiefer
I don't
as
want
Jack.
to be him.
Yeah.
Do you know that sort of a way?
Yeah, I do, of course. Yeah.
Now, maybe that's the character he's playing because he's a little bit, maybe ordinary guy. I don't know. But
I think that is the hook of that series, isn't it? Is that meant to be, particularly with the early
steps
stories,
from behind the typewriter.
It's the ordinary guy who it really belongs, no pun intended here, but in an office. He's an office drone who sort of gets out in the field. And I don't mean saving the hay.
Yeah.
He's out in the field. He's doing what...
You wouldn't save hay that weather.
No.
Only one thing, boy. It's a bit late now too.
Oh, you said it.
It was silage. Now, if you haven't cut your hay, now,
I can tell you a silage story.
It's
from that bad year in 1985.
Just wouldn't be good hay.
He knows a bit about farming.
I do.
But does Greg actually know anything about farming?
Also, it's too late for hay now. If you're cutting hay, it's not going to be good hay.
He watches Clarkson. He knows what he's chatting about.
No, it's silage weather now. That's if you can get a couple of cuts out of it. But the price of fertiliser is through the roof. So... What are you giving it out of 10 so far then? I'm sorry, but you're not giving me the impression. Feels a little bit like you're labouring through it.
To be honest, it's not. I'm not labouring through it because it's on a week by week. I don't think I could sit down and watch the 8 of them in a row, which I have a tendency to be a bit of a binger, and that over a couple of days I'd kind of come home every evening and watch 2 or whatever and then get through the whole thing in a week. I can't imagine watching this like that. I think I need to be. It needs that
weekly.
Yeah, you need. I need that little bit of distance from it along the way. I mean, if I'm giving the Mission Impossible a 7, I'm definitely only giving this about a 6.
Yeah,
but I'm hoping that it's going to kind of pay off in the end by giving you sort of a rounded.
Finish the story, exactly. And you're also in the position whereby it's alongside having read the books as well. I see Happy Valley's being pushed. I'm not sure if I ever gave that a chance.
Gets great.
Is it good?
It gets.
Have you seen it?
I've never seen the last final series because I missed
but
it
it's
on the
worth
BBC.
watching the early ones.
Oh, the early ones are brilliant. Yeah, she's fantastic.
Is it a drama or a cop show or?
It's a drama.
Right.
But
okay.
Basically, what it is this woman. And she's a police officer. Yeah. There's a lot of kind of family stuff that's happened in her life. She's raising one of her grandchildren, and then this, along with being a cop in this, I can't remember the size of the town.
Area. Yeah,
but it's relatively rural. And then this sociopath comes up.
Okay, might try it.
He's brilliant in it.
I think it's actually all available on the RTE player. I think that's where. I think that's where I was.
Okay.
Now, I'm not sure if the last series is. I did say all, but I presume they wouldn't be flagging it unless they had it.
Well, because see, they did the. I think it's 3. They did the first 3 series, and then there was nothing for like 5 years.
Yeah.
So it did finish on the 3rd series, as in, the story kind of came to an end. But then what they've done now is they've kind of jumped forward in the same length of time. That they didn't do and went back to it again.
Okay, listener says, Greg, did you hear about Mel Gibson's new film, The Sound of Freedom? If not, please look it up and the controversy around it. It's mind-boggling. Now, that is something I've not been aware of at all. And normally, if it's big, I pick up on those things. I have a bit of a celebrity obsession.
Yeah, I've seen it trending, and I must confess I haven't followed the link yet.
I'll have a look at it.
It is trending, yeah. It's been trending all week, and I've been like, I must get to that.
All right.
Then I didn't.
Greg, could you mention, please, there'll be a country charity afternoon at Voodoo Venue Letterkenny, Voodoo Charity Country Sunday in aid of the Donegal Rape Crisis Centre. It's on July 16th. Lots of brilliant new local music talent guesting on the day. The Letterkenny District Pipe Band will open the show, and added to the bill are The Notions, Honky Tonk Heroes, Air Bears, Jack McBurty, Kaz Hunter, and MC, our own Marty Freely. It runs from 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. and you're invited to go along and support. More than happy to mention that.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Balderdash, poppycock, porcupines, whispers, untruths, fake news, or as the kids say, cap. Seeds have been planted that Skoda has no stock. Let's put the rumours to bed. At Skoda we have Scala, Superb, Octavia and the fully electric Enyaq, all in stock, ready for immediate delivery and to drive home today. Visit skoda.ie to see for yourself. Skoda. Let's explore.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Call 074 9721396.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Householders and building owners in areas susceptible to wildfires are advised to cut back or remove any vegetation or other combustible material in the vicinity of their house, building or oil tank to prevent wildfires damaging or destroying their property. Cleared areas should be maintained free of vegetation and combustible material. Donegal County Council would like to remind landowners and members of the public that under the Wildlife Act 1976 and 2000, it is an offence to cut, grub, burn or otherwise destroy any vegetation growing on any land not then cultivated between the 1st day of March and the 31st day of August in any year. Landowners are also reminded that under the Waste Management Regulations 2023, the burning of agricultural waste is currently prohibited. Donegal County Council, protecting your environment.
New this week at Home Store and More. All school bags are all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price school bags are gone, they're gone. Also, all indoor clothes errors and all outdoor cushions are still all half price. But when all the half price indoor clothes errors and all the half price outdoor cushions are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. New store now open in Frascati Centre, Blackrock, Dublin. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Good morning to Annie, Doreen, Mary, Charlie, Una, Geraldine, Kathleen, Grania, Audrey, Charlie and Jude, all amongst those of you watching the show across our social media and our website. It's very much appreciated. 4 million live minutes viewed of this show in the first 5 months of the year. So we really do appreciate that, and many of you watching on Catch Up as well. It's available on our YouTube channel. You can watch it on your smart TV. Most TVs now have the YouTube app loaded on it. Just search Highland Radio Ireland, or on your Fire Stick as well. We're also on Facebook, Highland Hub, Highland Radio News and Sport, and you can just click Watch Live on our website. So as I say, I appreciate all of you involved in that way and whichever way. Let's see. Jack Ryan, season 4, seems to be following the original movie Clear and Present Danger, which there's no harm in that. That's one of my favourites, but I went through a stage where everything I watched with Harrison Ford in I enjoyed. No one's mentioning what you call it.
Indiana Jones?
That's exactly
Indiana
right.
Jones, yeah. Reading your mind.
When's it on?
You're now thinking of the number, Greg, and it's the number 7.
It's on now.
Is it?
The Indiana Jones movie is out now. I know I haven't had a chance to see it yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Beautiful face there. Now, the Outlaws, both of you have... Caroline, could you just double check what Mark's coming in under for me, please, if you don't mind, just to make sure I bring the right person in. So both of you have the Outlaws down here.
Yes.
What kind of a program's that?
It is a Netflix film. It's a comedy. It's produced by Adam Sandler, so it's in that wheelhouse. He's not in it, but it's of the type of movies that he do. If you look up Adam Sandler on Rotten Tomatoes, you'll see critics never embrace his movies. They've all got like 11%.
He embraces Netflix's money, and the audience seems to love him.
Oh, audiences love him, yeah. And this, I absolutely loved this movie. I'll tell you, lay my cards on the table. Adam Devine is the star of this one. I'm a fan of him from the comedy series Workaholics, which ran for 7 seasons, which was supposed to be getting a movie, but Paramount just pulled the plug on it, along with about 20 other projects recently, which is disappointing. He plays the sort of character he always plays. He's sort of a dweeb or a loser, a very annoying type of character. But somehow he's marrying Nina Dobrev from the Vampire Diaries, who is a babe. You have to just put your common sense on hold, and you think, how did he land her? Because it just wouldn't work. He is a bank manager, and he's just
What people say about Aisling.
obnoxious.
Wow. Is she away for the weekend? Can we give her a chance? I know. Give her a chance to calm down after that one.
So
I'm sure no one is going to go in there.
It's not gonna,
it never happens.
Never.
Sorry, I'm ruining.
No,
the
you're
film.
not. I'm just. It's interesting the door that's open there. So basically, he's a bank manager, and he's never met her parents because they've been in the Amazon with a tribe supposedly, but they're going to come for the wedding, the impending wedding, and it's Pierce Brosnan and it's Ellen Barkin, and they're both fantastic, but they both hate him because they can see they call him a little white goober or doober or something. They hate him. Brosnan hates him. Now, this is the very start of the movie, and about 10-15 minutes into the movie, his bank is robbed by two people. And he suspects midway through the robbery that it's her parents have robbed his bank. And as it turns out, no real spoiler here, he's right. They are bank robbers. So he has to figure out how he's going to prove this. He starts investigating it. There are multiple twists in this. They're all completely improbable. There are like 3 bank robberies. The second bank robbery is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I thought it was hilarious. It's very juvenile humour. This is not, we were chatting, it's not like Dodgeball or one of, these movies that are quite smart. There's nothing smart about this, but it's very funny. If you watch. So
would a critic say it doesn't take itself too seriously?
Yeah, critics didn't embrace this at all.
But that doesn't matter because it will be a success.
Yeah, it's going to be a success. I think it deserves to be a success. Brosnan is great fun. He has a very weird accent in this. Yeah, it's weird.
You ruined it for me.
It didn't. Well, it's weird. He's putting on but he's an interesting tough guy. Now this is a comedy, but it's an action film. There's big action in this. There's a lot of gunfire. There's a lot of people dying, and I like these comedy thrillers right back to the 80s when you were watching things like Fletch. I like it when
you like your comedy thrillers too.
I
know. I've watched this as well. I watched it. I actually downloaded it to watch on the plane on my flight back and it was only out that day. It was out last Friday.
Yeah,
it's missed the mark for me.
Right.
It's a silly kind of a comedy in the line of like Adam Sandler did like The Water Boy and it's in
Happy Gilmore.
That sort of it's in that kind of a frame rather than this. I'd like it to have been a tiny bit smarter. Ellen Barkin is great in it, and I was really. To be honest, she was more the reason I was going to watch it, as I do like Adam Devine as well. But she hasn't been in anything that I've seen anyways in quite a while. And I was like, oh God, you always wonder what brings them back. What is it about the script or whatever? She was very good in it. Brosnan, I don't understand it. They wanted him to kind of be sort of suave, sophisticated type of person. And then they went and they gave him a Scottish accent.
Right,
I was
not
like,
necessary.
Why are we doing that? Like, he already has a very suave and sophisticated accent in real life. So there was just a few little bits like that.
Does a lot of these films come down to whether or not you like Adam Sandler or not? He is really
I think
Marmite.
so. I think he's Marmite, yeah.
Like I enjoyed Happy Gilmore at that time when I was that age.
Yes.
But I really do find him
grating.
Annoying.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
And this is nothing about his personality.
I didn't mind. Like, he did the 2 murder mystery ones himself now, and I have to say
they're great. And the critics didn't embrace the second one. Is like
the first one was fine, but the second one was definitely, I thought, an improvement on the first one. It was definitely gave you a bit more to kind of go on.
And when he does a drama like Uncut Gems, he's fantastic.
Yes, but as soon as he walked on, I saw something completely different. Okay, stay right where you are. We'll come back. We'll come back to get your reviews on that.
Yep.
I think I can say hello to Mark O'Sullivan, originally from Buncrana, executive producer of Jericho Ridge. Are you there, Mark? Mark, can you hear me? No, he can't. He's muted there. I don't know. Are you speaking to me or not? Right, I'll give him one more chance here before I try something else. Mark, are you there? No. Okay, maybe you can hear me. Can you hear me, Mark?
Can hear you. Sorry.
It's all right.
Bit noisy and away with the rain.
I like the background, the backdrop. It looks very attractive altogether. How are you getting on?
We had to run into a pub out of the rain, unfortunately. It's pouring cats and dogs.
Right, it is. It's not gonna improve much. But look at the way that won't affect the European premiere at the 35th Galway Film Fleadh tonight of Jericho Ridge. This is a film you're executive producer of, described as an action-packed thriller set in the remote mountains town in North Washington. What was it like working on this project, Mark?
It was amazing. It took us about 4 years to put this together. In the end, because of COVID, we actually cancelled it about 2 weeks before COVID kicked in, and then we had to recast and put it together again. So it was a bit of a long haul, but it ended up being a brilliant project to work on. We ended up shooting in Kosovo in the end. We were gonna shoot over in the States at one point, Canada, and then we ended up shooting up in the mountains outside Pristina, believe it or not.
And just for those who may not be aware, Mark, what is the role of an executive producer in a production of this scale?
You basically put the money together and manage the process from development through to production, through to marketing and sales, post production, and all of that. So A to Z, effectively, you're kind of across it from the start to the end.
Yeah, no, it's great to get a European premiere for the Galway Film Fleadh. It's a great platform. It's a great platform for your movie, but it's also a great film for the Galway Film Fleadh to be able to showcase.
Yeah, we're excited to be here. This is our kind of worldwide premiere. Sitting here with Harvey Ascott, and I think Will, actually the director, is on the Zoom as well. Are you there, Will?
That's who Will is. Thank you very much for producing this for me, Mark. Sorry about that.
We thought we'd all pile in. So I'm sitting here with Harvey, who's my co-producer on this.
Hey, Harvey.
And Will Gilby is the director. He's on board as well.
Hello.
Maybe I'll let him talk about the film a bit.
Yeah, Will. Good morning to you, Will. Great to have you on. We're speaking to Mark O'Sullivan there. We have you with us as well. And congratulations getting this in the bag with all the challenges, of course, with COVID and everything else and choosing locations. It's great to get this in front of people to enjoy, I'm sure. Tell us a bit about the story, William.
The film is set in rural America. Mostly takes place in a sheriff's office, sort of kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's about a mother and her son getting stuck in the middle of a sort of very tense, very terrifying situation that sort of turns into a siege about halfway through the film. And it's about their kind of dysfunctional relationship and how it and they cope with the sort of terrifying and very tense, action-packed sort of night that they go through, essentially.
Yeah, and you've been able, obviously, to get together a great team with the likes of Mark, but also a great cast as well.
Yeah, no, a fantastic cast. I think we got very lucky. We just, yes, a lot of, it was a strange time casting this. We were just coming out of COVID. And trying to get cast was very difficult, but I think we managed. I think they've all done superb. I mean, there's an Irish actor in it, but I think the rest of the cast are 100% English, and everyone's obviously playing American. So they've done a fantastic job with all that. But yeah, I think they're great across the board. Actually, I think they're really good.
That's a huge challenge in and of itself, isn't it? In terms of casting, because you want everything to be perfect in the finished product, and obviously the actors pulled through for you on that.
I know it's huge, but I mean, I thought of something like English actors. If you can't do an American accent, it's work is going to be pretty thin on the ground. And sort of Nikki Amuka Bird, who played our lead, has played so many American roles that she's pretty much got it off. And then we had a accent coach for the rest of the actors, but they're all very skilled at it. And they all bring something different and something exciting to it.
Brilliant. We've got the premiere this evening. In terms of its general release, I might put that to you, Mark. Where will we be able to enjoy this film? Is it going to get a cinema release? Is it streaming platform, or is that still being worked on, or what's the story?
Yeah, that's still being worked on, but I think we'll probably do a theatrical release in the United States and the UK and Ireland. We're hoping to do that anyway. Let's see how the reviews go tomorrow morning. But I feel that we're gonna get some decent reviews on this film. It's turned out really well. There seems to be a lot of buzz around it in Galway. So, fingers crossed that helps us to do a theatrical release in the cinemas,
And which is more important? Because we talk about this we have a feature here where we talk about various TV shows and films, and often it comes down to something being a success and the audience loving it, but critics sort of being cool on it. Are critics as influential now as they may have once been, Mark?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, at the end of yes, they are for sure, and audiences as well. Putting it out theatrically always drives I suppose, the success of it on different distribution platforms. And ultimately streamers it's just a different distribution platform. So the success theatrically in the reviews, when people are reading up on it or whatever, they see great reviews, they're gonna click on it, effectively.
Yeah. And William, from a director's point of view, you're directing this for how it will look on the big screen. That's where you want people to see it, isn't it? I'm not sure if people would direct something separately for the small screen, but you want people to have the full immersive experience of your work, I'm presuming.
I mean, yeah, 100%. Seeing something on the big screen with an audience is everyone's dream, really. It's where it looks best. It's where it sounds best. You get the communal experience with everyone else. But, the reality is it's quite hard, certainly for lower budget films now, to get up on the big screens and compete against giant multi-$100 million blockbusters. But, hopefully with intelligent and creative approach to the problems, we should get it up there for some people to see.
Brilliant.
We should be cool.
Yeah, and Mark, even if budgets are tight, you have to make them stretch, because the audience aren't always that forgiving to say, oh, that's good considering the budget. They expect a certain product, don't they?
Indeed, they do. I mean, there's certainly your audience is not looking at a movie for its budget, as you just said. So, making movies is a very expensive business. I was about to say hobby. It's not a hobby.
It's a hobby that we get paid for, right?
Exactly. Well, you know what? I mean, the nice thing is, we all do it because we love it. But it's an expensive game.
Yeah, well,
and you got to pay your investors back eventually.
Well, that's it too, and that all comes down to you. Listen, lads, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck this evening. We really appreciate it. William, thank you for joining in. Well done on this. I suppose this is to bed now. You're probably looking towards your next project if you don't have things running concurrently.
100%, yeah. So I've got a couple of scripts I'm planning. I've got up and running, and I'm trying to get going. It looks like there's going to be obviously a massive global delay with things like that, with the SAG strike and the WGA strike, which are, both completely necessary for our businesses and our careers and our livelihoods going forward. But I think, we'll all wait out the storm and then hopefully come back stronger. And so watch this space. Next one hopefully coming soon.
For sure. And Mark is literally and metaphorically waiting out the storm down in Galway. Okay, listen, thanks so much for your time. Take care. Mark O'Sullivan from Buncrana, executive producer of Jericho Ridge. He has his assistant producer with him, but I missed his name. My apologies. And also the director of that film as well, which is good. Okay. Say what?
One to watch for.
Yeah,
one
definitely.
To watch. Yeah.
I would have far more interest in watching that now, having spoken to the people that are behind it. You kind of feel the process a little bit.
Absolutely.
I feel like I deserve a credit almost. That's how involved I am.
Special thanks at the end. They have time to put it in, before tonight.
But look, it's Jericho Ridge, so keep your eyes out for it. It's produced. Executive producer is a Buncrana man there as well. More from Micheal and fionnuala shortly.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
If the medical experts get it wrong, everything changes. From misdiagnosis or delayed diagnosis to surgical injury or even poor treatment, all have physical, emotional and financial consequences. We're here to help. So if your treatment didn't go according to plan, speak to our experienced medical negligence team at McElhenney & Associates. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney & Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. In contentious business, a solicitor may not calculate fees or other charges as a percentage or proportion of any award or settlement.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The one you've been waiting for. The McElhenney Summer Sale is now on, with up to 40% off across almost all departments and massive savings across your favourite brands. Don't miss out on amazing offers. Shop in store at McElhenney's Ballybuffet or online at mcelhenneys.com.
It's the summer of savings at SuperValue. Enjoy great offers like Kellogg's Rice Krispies 660 gram, Special K 750 gram and Crunchy Nut 720 gram, only €3. Selected coffee pods like Lore 20 pack, Tassimo 16 pack, any 3 for €12. And money off vouchers every week on the app. For a summer of savings, it's got to be SuperValue.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Of course, we are in the company still of Micheal and Fionnuala. More to come from them. But we have in studio with us a regular guest on this programme, Alan O'Reilly of Carlow Weather. Very welcome to the show. Very welcome to Donegal, Alan.
How are we doing?
I think you told me that you were going to bring the good weather with you to Donegal.
Well, I brought some sunny spells. I managed to make the most of it.
What about the scattered showers, Alan? It's the scattered showers.
It's more the downpour that's coming for the afternoon, I'm afraid.
Yeah, come here. You've been around the country a bit, haven't you?
Yeah, I was camping in Wicklow and we've been up near Culdaff for the last week.
Lovely.
So we're here for another couple of days. So yeah, we made the most of it. We got out in the sunny spells, Wild Atlantic Way, walking with alpacas on the Wild Atlantic Way. That was amazing.
Brilliant.
Wild Ireland, that was really amazing as well. Lots of beaches, you know. Once you're wet in the sea, does it matter if it's raining?
No.
So yeah, that Culdaff beach is amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we've really enjoyed it. I mean, I have to say the one thing that's left a mark is the friendliness of the people.
Good.
The genuine welcome that you get. It's it really has actually left a mark. Yeah.
Alan, are you obsessed with weather? When did your interest? Because how do you describe yourself?
Just whether a hobbyist or weather enthusiast. Yeah.
Well, enthusiast, I think slightly more than a hobby. But
yeah.
Is that something that, do you love statistics? Do you love trends? Do you...
It's mainly my interest of snow, believe it or not, got me interested in weather and why doesn't it snow and why does it snow and what do we need, and then tracking extreme weather, watching. I have an IT background, that's what my day job is, so watching the computer models and trying to see the different, assembles and reading all the different charts. I guess it's kind of a data and a weather kind of a mix that's kind of driving the interest, yeah.
I think it's also driven advances in weather forecasting. I'm not interested in pitching you against any other organisations, but, there was a very strict policy, it seemed, for a long time. 3 days, that's it. That's all we can guarantee, 3 days and we're certain. And then we've got people like you who present it in such a way where you respect your audience, that they're not going to hold you to it, though some do. But, you're prepared to push it out a bit and say, well, look, this is what could happen. This is what is likely to happen, but, I'm not telling you. And I think really we found now the likes of Meteran and others are having to go out into that area of speculation, and I think it's the likes of you that have put it up to them and say, well, we need to do that too.
Yeah, I think, I will show what the weather charts show could happen, which is exactly as you say. And I think it's trying to give people, like, at the moment, it's going to be a wet afternoon, but you're looking for something. So I kind of look at the longer range and look at the trends and trying to see what's going to happen. And like sometimes it's good and, there's kind of good consensus. And other times, like at the moment, next weekend, it's really uncertain what's going to happen. We've a battle of a high and a low. But I think trying to show people...
The low always seems to win.
I tweeted this morning that low is the form horse, unfortunately. So if we're back in low or high, it seems to be low at the moment. Look, it's in contrast with people suffering from extreme heat in parts of Italy and Greece and Spain. There's absolutely crazy temperatures, over 46 degrees forecast for Sardinia in Italy. So I suppose we have different levels of problems. Like a wet evening, we've decided to go to the cinema here in Letterkenny, and we'll have the local fire roaring in the cottage that we're in.
Nice, it's not a bad little way to spend an evening.
I always say it's a lot easier to warm yourself than it is to cool yourself.
Yeah, I think you're right. What annoys you most? Clickbait weather.
Yeah,
that must be up there.
It is.
You're putting in there, and you're trying to put some science out there, and if it's 16 degrees, they'll say, oh, it's going to be hotter than somewhere in Spain that's colder than 16 degrees or something. Or it might be, we'll tell you precisely when the snowstorm's going to hit, and then you get into the article, it's completely ambiguous. Is that a bit of an annoyance? It's part of it, but...
It is. It's an annoyance because, to be honest with you, I've had to restrict a little bit my tweeting in terms of what I write because some of the tabloid newspapers have taken my tweets and written headlines that don't in any way reflect what my tweet says. And then I get messages from people saying, you said such and such was going to happen. And I said, well, I actually didn't. But yeah, so that is an annoyance. But look, that's, you put yourself out there, and and everybody loves weather. The clickbait stuff, it just, for whatever reason, people just love to click on weather.
Yeah, of course, because it's serious and it's not serious, and it just hits all the right points. Okay, so wet and windy Friday today, isn't it?
Yeah, very heavy rain moving up. We've had over 30 millimetres of rain since midnight in parts of the south, and that's making its way north. So very wet afternoon, very wet evening. We'll miss the strongest of the winds here in the northwest, but again, wet overnight. Tomorrow morning, showery, some heavy showers moving in again. Very cloudy, dull day tomorrow. Temperatures only 15 or 16 degrees. Sunday, sunny spells. There will be showers, but there'll be some more sunny spells on Sunday, so that's a better day. The better news is next week is going to see less rainfall. Now, it's not going to be dry, but it's going to see less rainfall.
Fine. Yeah.
And there'll be more opportunities in between the showers. So if anybody's coming up here next week, or anyone's here next week, there'll definitely be more in the way of dry spells next week. Next weekend, as I say, really uncertain. We have this high pressure trying to push up from the southwest, but we have all these lows that just keep coming down. Eventually, I'd like to think that the Azores High will come back and say a little hello to us before the summer's out. And people need to remember, August is still the meteorological season of summer. So, July is okay, it's not looking great, but we still have a whole other month of summer. And sure, everyone knows when the kids go back to school, the weather gets better. You don't need to be a weatherman to tell you that.
I love it. I love it. Love
always
it.
the way.
All right, listen, Alan, brilliant. Great to have you and your family up here. Enjoy the cinema, enjoy the fire. I might start panic tomorrow, hijack tomorrow if the weather's that bad. All right, but listen, Alan, thank you very much for
Thanks
that.
very much.
And as you say, when the weather breaks, it's really quite pleasant. Yesterday there was some lovely spells of sunshine and a decent heat. All right, Alan O'Reilly of Carlow Weather, thanks so much for timing your trip to Letterkenny to come in and see us. We'll be back with more after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Beggs & Partners are a specialist local plumbing, heating and bathroom supplier. Established in Belfast 1960, we now have 12 branches and are known for quality, value and reliability. Our latest branch in Springtown Drive, Buncrana Road, Derry includes a beautiful bathroom showroom as well as a fully stocked plumbing and heating trade sales counter. Delivery service available. See beggsandpartners.com.
Summer is here, and so is the hottest sale of the year at Easy Living Furniture. Get ready to transform your home with incredible deals during our sizzling summer sale. With absolutely everything reduced, why not spruce up your living room with a stylish sofa? Create the perfect dining experience with our stunning collection of dining sets and relax in comfort with our cozy bedroom furniture. The spectacular summer sale is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Evolve Clothing, biggest summer sale now on. Evolve Clothing, biggest summer sale now on. Evolve Clothing, biggest summer sale now on at Letterkenny Retail Park or evolveclothing.com.
Dergfest Music Festival Castle Derg presents Europe's premier Queen tribute act, Queen, Sunday, July 30th at the Dergfest Big Top Castle Derg, plus ABBA tribute to Bjorn Identity and tributes to U2 and Lady Gaga. Tickets $27.50. See dergfest.co.uk. Sponsored by Castle Glass Castle Derg. Strictly over 18s.
Enjoy great live music every Saturday night at Larkins of New Mills, now under new management. Get a bucket of 5 beers for just €20. Bar food available from the Bites menu. Also check out the new summer menu now at Larkins Restaurant. For great food and entertainment, visit Larkins of New Mills. See Facebook for details.
So tune into Around the Northwest today. After the headlines at 12, John and the team will be broadcasting live from Inishowen Credit Union in Carndonagh. It's a fun-filled day in store for all the community as they celebrate the Carndonagh branch going 5 days a week. Tune in, or why not even pop down for some ice cream, spot prizes and so much more. All proceeds made from today will be going towards Friends of Inishowen Hospice. So that's Around the Northwest live from Inishowen Credit Union in Carndonagh. Of course, we want you to listen, but if you're in and around that area, and maybe even bring the kids down for half an hour or however long you want to. Right. So that was interesting. I like the weather.
Yeah. It's great to have someone who's
a bit of hope.
Passionate. You can respond to passion and expertise, somebody who's really passionate about, and someone who knows what they're talking about. It's great.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Exactly.
It really is.
Everything that's absent from this show. Right.
I didn't want to open that door.
Are you going to go watch anything this week or anything planned?
I'm away down to my family.
And I'm down in Galway. I'm going to see a play called Bedbound by Colin Meaney. It's part of the Arts Festival, which has just started now this weekend.
In Galway?
Yeah.
It's good buzz down there because you have the film festival going as well.
Yeah, the film festival has been hit a little bit already straight away. They lost Matthew Modine, which I would have definitely have gone to try and see him if he'd
about,
been
sorry?
there. Matthew Modine is... has a new movie that's out. You know, remember he used to be big back in our day. Now he used to be kind of the heartthrob back in the 80s.
He's still busy.
Always at the film fair and go. They always get a big name like that. It's not, somebody that people would recognise.
I get you, yeah.
They do a premiere of whatever their movie is, and then they have a Q&A. They're big and lots of big Q&A. So he's a new movie out with John Cleese and himself and a few others, and he is the president of the.
So it's the strike then. Oh,
so he's unable.
Mm.
See, this is going to be the thing now that we don't think it's a big deal, but they won't be making anything. There'll be no more promotion of any of the stuff that's currently been made.
But who exceeds to their demands? Is it the industry? Is it the studios? Or
it's the movie studios and the platforms.
Yeah.
So I don't know like exactly names who's in it, but it's all those things whoever owns Amazon Prime.
There is
Prime, Disney, as well as the actual movie and TV production studios. That seems to be who they were sitting down at the table with.
Yes.
No white smoke of a solution yet. It's really early days.
Oh, it's the early days, yeah. I mean, in fact, early in the week, I know we're getting late, but yeah, there was. It looks less and less
30
likely.
seconds. Keep going.
Less and less likely. I mean, there was a well publicized Zoom call. The studio heads were just basically building the barricades on Monday of this week.
Yes.
So I'm putting out.
If they give out their thing is if they give in to them, then they have to give in to the writers, and then all of a sudden, then you're just Which
it's going to be a long one.
So
I think.
it is, and it's going to have a major impact on what we're watching next year.
Content.
This time next year, we're going to end up talking about stuff that we're repeating.
Yeah,
the things
I'll be taking out the Baywatch DVDs again.
I'll be rewatching The West Wing for the 8th time.
He only went from VHS to DVDs because it pauses better.
There you go. All right, if you have 5 seconds, I want to say hello to Deirdre. I met her yesterday. You know how I love when people come up to me and recognise my voice?
Yeah.
And randomly, I was in the hairdresser, head wrapped up in a towel, the whole thing, chatting away to my hairdresser, Donna, lovely lady.
Were you singing the Mission Impossible theme?
Deirdre was sitting over on the other chair and she went, "Oh, you must be Fionnuala from Highland Radio." Ba-boom, fame at last.
So Deirdre.
Yes.
Hi, Deirdre. Okay, thank you very much, Michael and Fionnuala. We really appreciate your time as always. That's where we have to leave it on the programme today. But stay tuned, won't you? Because John Breslin's coming up live around the northwest from Carndonagh. But it is 12 noon, so that means it's time to get a news update. And it's good afternoon now to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good afternoon, Gardaí.